What's up with it?
Good evening, listeners, one and all. Welcome to Season 11, Stage 1, Week 3 of the Amateur Australian Oceanic Lander, presented by AAOL Sports, sponsored by My Republic Gamer. I'm Peronius. If you're not sick of my voice by now, I'm sure you already knew that one. Joining me tonight is a brand new caster here at AOE, which is Opava. Say hello and welcome yourself.
Hello, thank you. Yes, my name's Opara, and thank you guys for all having me. I hope you enjoy my casting. And if you're new here like me for casting, here's a rundown on who we are. We're a weekly casual tournament for literally anyone who wants to play, from bronze to masters. You're all welcome here if you want. And yeah, the Australian Amateur Overwatch Ladder is a 10-week tournament full of incredible Overwatch, split into 2 stages. Each stage is a 5-week round robin tournament, so there are no eliminations, and each match is a first to 3 to find the winner of that match. If you're unaware of what that Australian Overwatch Ladder is, it's the largest oceanic Overwatch tournament filled with 70 plus teams. And as previously mentioned, we're on the 11th season, which is just incredible and really cool to say. If you ever want to be part of the Australian Amateur Overwatch ladder, you can sign up either as a team or as an individual. So if you want to join, either jump onto our website or join the Discord, which you can find the links below to join. If you're struggling to load those links, however, then our special sponsor is the perfect person for you.
That's right. Stay home with the #1 broadband provider for gaming. My Republic offers fixed broadband plans and services that provide ultra-low, ultra-stable latency connections, optimizing your gameplay experience. Enjoy exciting privileges, special gaming offers, and exclusive access to specialized gamer perks. Visit myrepublic.net to check them out today.
Now, we got some awesome games on for us tonight. We've got 2 separate games with 4 teams playing. Our first game that we'll be looking at is our Division 12 game, which is the Cliff Divers versus Anthony and Friends. I'm very curious to find out who Anthony is. And the second game for tonight is our Division 9 game, which is the 8-Legged Geeks versus Gaming on Weekdays. Very excited for some pretty interesting Overwatch tonight.
Absolutely. And it's going to be interesting to see what these teams throw out. As some of you would have no doubt noticed, these aren't exactly the highest divs that we have on offer, but it means we get to see a different side of Overwatch tonight. And a lot more people playing on comfort picks rather than what is strictly meta. So we're likely to see a bit more variety tonight than we would in some of our other matches. So look forward to that one. Just looking at my notes here, apparently only team members are allowed to know who Anthony is. So it looks like it's unlikely the rest of us will find out which of these players is Anthony. But it's an interesting. It's going to be an interesting one there. It looks like the team is a bunch of high school friends that have now gone together in this, and they are definitely what we can expect to see as the underdog in this matchup. Whereas their opponent, the Cliff Divers, they've been going for a while. I don't know. So the Cliff Divers, they apparently are not feeling it. They're not in. Yeah, apparently they're not feeling it tonight. So it's going to be interesting to see because Anthony and Friends definitely come into this the underdog. They're the lowest ranked team in the division. But yeah, the Cliff Divers did have some pre-game jitters, so could be a close one between these two, and at least until those nerves are worked out.
I can certainly relate to those nerves there. I think once they get into it, they should feel a little bit better about themselves, and I'm sure they'll pull off some interesting maneuvers and plays. They've gone through many a name change, so that might just be part of the nerves as well. They don't really know who they are yet. They were the Pile Drivers, now they're the Cliff Divers. So it's going to be interesting to see. They've chosen that name because Blub was known for charging off the map as Rhine, which is one of their players. So hopefully we don't see that happen today.
Yeah, so Blub looks at actually one of their former teammates, and they changed their name in honor of them when Blub left the team. But yes, it's definitely a bold play to name yourself after some good old OTM happening. Speaking of OTM, we'll be heading over to Busan as our first map in this series. We'll always be starting on Busan here at AAOL throughout the season. And it looks like we'll be starting in the city center, so definitely plenty of opportunity of that OTM. That's right, I got back to it in the end. And then we'll be going through the rest of our map pool with the loser picking here on out. But let's see what these teams have to show us here as the hero picks start to come online.
We've got on one team, they're looking pretty solid. They've already chosen the Reinhardt Zarya, which pretty standard comp, seeing the Reinhardt Zarya on tanks with Lucio to give them that speed boost, looking like they're going to try and run and sort of kind of death ball over them. The other team's looking at a pretty standard dive with Ana, Genji, Winston, and Diva.
Yeah, so Anthony and Fred's going to be coming out with a brawl comp with the double hit scan. Cliff Divers, on the other hand, going for a more traditional dive comp, although they are running the McCree there. McCree quite strong at the moment, although maybe not as strong as he could have been. They've, if I looked at it, reverted that. Here comes the engagement, though.
Yeah, early anti-nade onto the brig. Genji tried to get a bit of value through a Swift Strike, but he couldn't get the kills. But a huge dynamite came through by Ashe, getting a lot of damage onto point. But currently, it's looking like the The dive team is currently taking a lot more point presence right now. But as I say that, the Brawl decides to just run over them. They get an early pick, and they manage to turn that around for themselves.
Yeah, Anthony and friends picking up the first point control there. They are, however, missing their Reinhardt, but, well, I mean, Diver's fast, but they're only just sort of all respawning now. In fact, still waiting for their Diva, who's only just spawned. So the window of opportunity to come in there and take advantage of the lack of main tank sort of closed. Starting to see the ultimates building towards it. Still 50% away on that Genji ult, so no doubt Carameltastic going to look to hold on to that Nano for the Nano Blade. Meanwhile, we're probably going to have an Ashe ult coming up from Rainy Star very shortly. Oh!
And here comes out a Blade. Very early Blade. Sound Barrier does come through to shut down any sort of kills that you'd want to come out of that there. Hopefully the Cliff Divers can make a bit of use from it. They do get 2 picks, and yep, Tears is now tearing through them, getting headshots and after headshots. Reinhardt pulls, and we just see Lucio now probably just going to try stall for a little bit more point time.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with how quickly Parthex actually built that Blade. I was like, oh, he's 50% away. That'll take him a while to get going. Builds up the Blade, pulls it out, and they don't even combo it with the Nano. They just go straight in with that one, which means that maybe we're going to be seeing an Electric Cowboy coming up instead to see that Nano being invested with the McCree Deadeye. Hard to say. Meanwhile, well, the point has been flipped, but 50% progress is a decent opening there nonetheless.
Now we have an amazing Primal Rage by Roxy, taking down 2 off the map, and Tears getting the kill onto Lucio. That's going to be a very early end to that push for Anthony and friends.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's a great Primal Rage coming out from Roxy there, and yeah, I mean, any fight you can win that quickly and that cleanly is a great one to have. It means that, again, we're still looking at Carameltastic with the question marks of just where that Nano's going to go, but finally we're starting to get a lot of ultimates on line for the side of Anthony and friends, so we'll likely see them coming out.
Big Shadow coming through, really landing onto the Diva, but it did get Ana in the background. High Noon trying to get any connection, but the tactical visor by Redacted just taking everyone down. Cameltastic has to reset as that point flips.
Yeah, good point flip there. They did use all of their ultimates, though, to make that one happen. 5 ults invested in that team fight. They're still only at 60% for that next Sound Barrier. That said, I mean, we're likely looking at another Nano Blade potentially here. Carameltastic still holding onto that Nano, but Genji's about to have the Blade again. It's going to be really dangerous unless basically the Lucio can farm up a lot of ult very quickly. Doesn't seem likely at this point.
Yeah, we do see a dive onto the back line there, but Reinhardt does come and meet them there. Genji now getting in behind him. Here comes the Blade. Do we see the Nano come out? No Nano, but he does take down Redacted, and there's the Nano onto Rainy Star.
Oh.
That water gone as well. That is just a clean Nano Blade if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, I mean, the Nano took a little bit to come out and join the Blade, but once it did, those bodies started hitting the floor. Clean team wipe there at 93%, not a moment too soon as well. They're going to have to try and hold on to this one for the rest of the round, because that is not time for another team fight here.
Now, Lucio going up top, trying to get the Monkey down. Good move, to be honest, because you don't want Monkey jumping down on your back line. And they've gotten the point presence now. They're jumping onto point. But a big NG onto Reinhardt means he's going to start falling down. And we've got Roxy trying to push him up the map, and he gets them again. Roxy's Primal Rages. They may not have been corner pushing, but they are getting them off the map. Tears does pop High Noon. Only takes down one. Tap Fire, though, taking Tears during it. It's a bit of a back and forth fight, but I think it's going to be Cliff Divers who are taking this one out.
Yeah, that looks like an easy cleanup there for Cliff Divers in the end. And turns out maybe it wasn't a matter of, you know, expecting some OTM from them, but rather some enforced OTM happening, as they've been really more the Cliff throwers so far. Roxy absolutely monstering some people around in that round.
Exactly right. And I mean, if they've been named after someone who charged off the map, they certainly didn't want to follow up on his legacy. They stayed on their map pretty well. Lucio tried to get a few cheeky boops on Fizex there. He tried to get a few boops, but nothing really came through.
Yeah, nonetheless, we'll be moving over to mech base, which means, perhaps unsurprisingly, we're going to see a bit more of a brawly comp from both teams here. as the Cliff Divers now bringing out their own Ryan Zaya. Tears on the May could be a very impactful pick as well. Looks like it's going to be a very similar one coming out from Anthony and Friends with the double hit scan there. Rainy Stars over on McCree now. Redacted still playing the soldier there. But Maywall, and that's a great Maywall.
Huge Maywall taking down tapped water really early on. That means they're going to be able to play aggressive. Reinhardt does fall off the high ground, but he's going to come up from behind. This is looking a bit messy for old Anthony and Friends. They kind of fell apart early on with that Maywall.
Yeah, it looked like they weren't entirely sure where they wanted to commit to, especially when that Reinhardt started coming up to their side. And, well, I don't think they made a decision, and as a result, one was sort of made for them. So that's going to see Cliff Divers take the early lead in this one. And looks like we're going to see a rotation coming through here. It's still not a lot of ultimates online for these teams yet. So we should be looking at another vanilla fight here.
Good Maywall manages to make it so that no one can get away, but didn't really block anyone off. Redacted taking down Roxy, but the rest of the team of Cliff Divers is taking down everyone else. It's just McCree and Soldier left fighting for their lives, but McCree Moira on the other side. There's a wee fight with Lucio going on somewhere else in this lane, but Redacted actually really cleaning up now. Tears does manage to finish it off, but this fight is still live with the Reinhardt charge, early charge onto Roxy. Roxy falling down to half. Oh, mate, devastating stuff.
Yeah, that was an interesting fight there, but I really think Tears has been the big difference maker so far in this match. That Maywalls have just been controlling this battlefield, and it doesn't look like Anthony and Friends really have a lot to answer that. We did see, obviously, in the sort of mid of that fight, I guess, Redacted really come alive on the Soldier, but yeah, as long as these Maywalls are guaranteeing a first two or three kills in the fight, it's going to be very hard to come back. And here comes the Blizzard.
Out comes Blizzard and the Maywall blocking off the team as well. Shatter connects onto 3, but they were already frozen, so it was kind of unnecessary. That's just a clean team wipe right there with Brig just getting back to spawn.
Well, sometimes you just have to Earth Shatter to assert dominance, and that's exactly what Roxy's doing there. 90% on the clock. It's going to be hard for these members of Anthony and Friends to even make it back to the point here, especially with a Maywall right there. It's going to make it really difficult to get through. They're running out of time.
Redacted pops the tactical visor, but high noon from top means no one can touch.
Yeah, and that will be Cliff Divers picking up this first match in a clean 2-0. Bit more back and forth on our first map there in the city center, but that performance there in Mech Base was absolutely dominant there, so definitely a great showing there, and we'll see how that continues as we make it over to our hybrid assault, hybrid map rather, where Anthony and Friends will have their choice of Eichenwald or Hollywood as the map.
Yeah, now, we said Cliff Divers were feeling nervous, but they looked pretty good. They looked like they were working together well, so I think their nerves, you know, was just pre-early jitters, and they've really shown that they can bring up to par in this game right now. And like you said, Tears was on another level with those Maywalls. Tears has been described to have Maywalls that cut the enemies sharper than any kitchen utensil, and I think we really did see that there today.
Definitely, I can't argue with that one there. It means that, well, given these two maps, it's sort of a hard one to decide where you'd want to go as Anthony and Friends. We've seen that they prefer to run a Brawlier comp, just based on what they've brought out so far. But like Cliff Divers, they've been beating them on the Brawl, and they've been beating them on Dive as well. So Cliff Divers showing more versatility as well as just more strength in general. Looks like Hollywood will be the map of choice. And something we did mention last week is that, I mean, Eichenwald and Hollywood are very similar maps with a lot of the same pitfalls. I think the third point of Eichenwald definitely brawlier than the third point of Hollywood. But other than that, the same general principles apply in those first two stages. So it is sort of a hard one to pick between if you're looking for an advantage. Nonetheless, we are over here on Hollywood, and it'll be interesting to see what we see coming out on the defense here. Will we see? Well, it looks like it will be, yes, more Ryan Zaya coming out from Anthony and Friends. Perhaps not too surprising, but Redacted moving over to the Echo and Rainy Stars on the Hanzo is a very different look from what they showed us there on Basan.
Absolutely, and we've got Cliff Divers continuing with their dive. I mean, I guess it's in their team name, isn't it? Cliff Divers. Um, but I mean, I think dive can work out if they manage to dive onto that high ground, onto this balcony up top, and push everyone off high ground. They should be able to get a bit of value out of it. So realistically, Anthony and friends need to watch out for that dive and respond correctly.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you're not playing at the absolute top of the division, dive can always work well if it's well coordinated. It can take apart a team. That's what makes it so lethal. Now see the rollouts coming through. The thing that will make it difficult is both Echo and Hanzo are going to play very far back, and Rainy Star getting the first blood of the match, putting one of those arrows straight through Pathex on the Tracer. It's going to slow down this push, and they're sort of caught in a bit of a weird position there. I think if Anthony and friends get aggressive here, there'd be a real opportunity to cut them off, but it looks like they're playing this one a bit safer, not willing to take the 5v6.
Yeah, you don't want to risk it here. You don't want to potentially lose a fight that you've already technically won with that early kill onto Tracer. But here's the dive onto the back room there. They're chasing down their Baptiste. Baptiste has to pop Immortality just to stay alive. Genji trying to find a pick, and Reinhardt is falling low, but so is Roxy. So this dive, it's a bit messy. Rainy Star takes down Pathex, but Roxy takes him down in turn. It's looking like Anthony and friends are getting the upper hand, but it's so back and forth right now. This dive could still work out if they manage to keep their Ana and Moira alive, but no, Roxy falls, and that is going to be that fight over.
Yeah, Redacted just taking over the fight there on the Echo, beaming down multiple people. Those Echo abilities can be so potent on low health people, and we saw that in good form. So defense going to hold on for now. Going to be onto the Cliff Divers to come up with some way into this. Looks like there goes Pathex early yet again. Roxy's actually gone over to the Reinhardt. Not going to stick with the dive. They want to brawl this one out. And I mean, at this point, you surely feel you are the stronger brawl team, so you can hardly blame them.
Absolutely. We also saw Tears change over to the McCree now, so they really want to take this ball well. Early Coalescence just going to give a lot of healing to Roxy, meaning he can swing. Baptiste, Immortality comes through, but a big shatter. Actually taking down Moira. Roxy does take down Jono, but this is going to be another hold for the Anthony and friends there. Just nano on Roxy. Maybe a little bit unnecessary just to keep him alive, but this Echo just shattering right in front of them. They don't care. They're just throwing anything at them right now.
I mean, when you've only got a little bit of time left on the Echo, you've got to go for it, even if you don't land it, because it's going away anyways, so...
Absolutely. Now, we've got a weird push. They're still really wanting to fight, even though Reinhardt wasn't there. Roxy now has finally joined. Early amplification metrics, but the shatter completely makes it pointless. Sound barrier coming through, trying to keep the team alive. Tap water has fallen, though, so that is really good for Cliff Divers, even. Roxy manages to take out Reinhardt, and it's just Bap jumping around right now, being a bit of a spoink, bouncing to live. If he stops bouncing, his heart stops.
Yeah, will be the point capture there, but quite a lot of time bought off that one. 3 minutes of successful defense there. We move over into the streets phase, so we'll get some extra time on the clock, putting it up to a little over 3 minutes to get the push. But I mean, if you're the defenders and you've managed to hold first point for that long, you're going to be feeling pretty decent about yourselves.
Absolutely. Now, moving into the street phase, it's going to be interesting. Street phases can go one of two ways, so a full hold or a really hard push. And early kill onto Ana by Rainy Star. Rainy Star's been huge with these headshots, getting early picks. We saw it constantly with Pathex on the Tracer, and now getting that Ana is going to be huge. But they don't want to push in with it again.
Yeah, it's a good way to get more time off the clock. Not a huge amount of time left there. 2 minutes 40 there. However, Tears on the high ground's finally starting to take some control away. Kill onto Baptiste, absolutely huge for picking this fight. There's the grab coming out to try and shut it down.
Grab Dragons as well, taking down two, but in the backline, Pathex does pop the blade. Doesn't really connect onto anyone, but it's such a messy fight right now. Pathex now just trying to take down Lucio. A lot of interesting ults that maybe didn't need to be thrown out there.
Yeah, again, with something we've seen from Anthony and friends, they do commit their whole ults quite heavily. Although actually, as I say that, they only committed the two in that fight. They didn't win the fight, and they've got a lot coming online shortly. there goes the Baptiste again. Tears on this McCree. Being a terror on the high ground, takes out another 2 with the Deadeye. And with that, I mean, this should be the second point capture here and now.
Greedy Shadow by Roxy, really just BMing right now, saying, I don't need it. I'm just gonna take you down, get this point capture without any congestion there. What the...
Yeah, they're just surging forwards there. Tears, again, just coming alive here, picking up kill after kill on that McCree. Once they are without pressure, and this is going to be a late stagger onto Jono as well. That one's going to hurt a bit. There's a lot of early space that's going to be bought by that on the Cliff Divers. Got a little under 3 minutes on the clock here to get this one across the line, and we're already basically going to see this payload get halfway through the point before a defense is going to be able to be put up in front of it.
Now, the team, Anthony and friends, they're finally sort of getting down together, but they're playing so far back. They're not even wanting to approach. I think they're giving them a lot of respect right now, and you want to get aggro. Big Shadow though onto Roxy and Blade Trinity there. Coalescence comes through, keeping the team alive, but Jono falls during it, and out comes a grab. Dragon Blade, Nano Blade even. Sound Barrier trying to keep the team alive, and an Echo turning into Ana, instantly de-duplicated. What a clean win right there for Cliff Divers, winning that first point, pushing it all the way. They are going to now move into defense.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just press Q, and then you press Q, and just everyone presses Q at the same time. And when that happens, you know, sometimes your team wins the fight, sometimes it doesn't. And that's basically that last fight in a nutshell, I'm afraid. It just ended up being that. I mean, I was going to give props for the absolutely no fear Reinhardt shatter, though. You just walk up and press Q and shatter half the team, but it really didn't work out in the end. And as a result, Cliff Divers get that one across the line. It was a good first point defense, but it looked like Anthony and friends really struggled to get their feet back under themselves after that one, and were kind of on the back foot the rest of the way through the map. We'll see how. We'll see how they go on attack now, as Cliff Divers will be rolling out for their first point defense. And well, the nasty news, if you are a fan of Anthony and friends, is Tears is back on that May, and there are definitely some great chokes here on the first point to really make life painful.
Absolutely. Tears has been tearing through this team, whether it's the McCree or the May. So I'd be scared if I was on Anthony and friends right now. But I think if they respond well, don't get caught out by those ice walls, and make sure that if someone does get caught out, the support and the peel comes through. They should be able to push through this.
Yeah, I mean, Rainy Star is the obvious one to maybe try and go in first. Just the extra mobility on Hanzo, plus the ability to climb over those walls. I mean, you don't risk getting cut off, but we'll see how that unfolds. It does, of course, leave them potentially exposed to that fire. First wall evaded. In fact, there's a small gap in that one anyways. It's going to see them in, but speaking of in, look at this aggression coming out.
Cliff Divers just want to fight. They are ready for a fight. Rainy Stars punishes it a little bit, taking down Camel-tastic without the Lucio. Oh, and a good kill by Redacted onto Blade Trinity. The charge by Jono Mate does get shut down by a freeze there, but he kills Roxy anyway, swinging his hammer. That is going to be an early first push there. That defense was pretty much completely shut down. Just Parthex now stalling out.
Yeah, I think Cliff Divers, they needed to commit with their Reinhardt in for that play, and they ended up, after the initial success of pushing forwards, maybe didn't follow through enough. They certainly displaced Anthony and friends, but well, because they ended up on different elevations, they ended up a little spread out, and that just means people are exposed, vulnerability being picked off, and that's what happened. They got taken down. I like the aggression coming out. You've got to commit to it. You've got to stick with your Reinhardt. Otherwise, you're just going to get taken apart piece by piece like that. We're moving into the streets phase, and it's all about the high ground control here with these hit scan heroes, especially the soldiers. Parthex taking control of the high ground here is going to be a great opportunity for the defense.
Now, Nano onto Jono Mate, but the Shadow by Roxy's good. Shutting down any use of that Nano sound barrier comes through, keeping the team alive. Redacted taking down Roxy, but there is a tactical visor from Parthex on the high ground, and this is what you were talking about. He's now taking down Redacted, giving Tears the ability to blizzard safely, and they're going to clean up the tanks and take that defense. right there.
Yeah. Oh, he's actually dropped off the high ground trying to chase with maybe the tail end of that visor, but maybe we'll have time to reset there. I don't know, the elevator's not in a great spot, but yeah, you'll have time to get back up and set on that high ground. That's going to be the first thing to be overcome for the members of Anthony and Friends. That said, Hanzo's not a bad pick for overcoming that. One stray arrow is all it needed to take out Parthex off that high ground. Or they can just grab onto the cart.
Grab onto the cart with the dragons coming through. May in the ice block, keeping herself alive, and the wall meant the rest of the team couldn't do any damage. But Redacted coming through now. Tactical Visor taking down Camel-tastic. Parthex trying to shut down the push, but the natural barriers actually making it so Blade Trinity can't get away. So now the rest of the team's trying to run away. We see Lucio chasing down this Moira. Moira does get back to the team. Is Lucio going to get punished? Roxy is now there, but they're getting aggro right now. Anthony and Friends, they don't want to keep fighting on the streets phase. They're already committed. Good ice wall, blocking off the tanks.
Yeah, Jono stuck a little too far away there, and the Nano Boost is not going to keep you alive alone against the whole team.
Out comes Sound Barrier and Tactical Visor once more. Shattered by Roxy, doesn't connect onto anyone, and Parthex is making the best he can with his Tactical Visor. That's a defense one right there from probably a bit too much greed and wanting to just get those kills in their spawn.
Yeah, I mean, again, it just comes into, like, committing to these fights. You can't have your Reinhardt charging in there alone. I think if 5 people had pushed in for that spawn camp and just leave 1 person on the payload, I think that works out a lot better for you in that instance. You're able to catch the enemy while they're still respawning. You're able to pick fights where you still got man advantage and take them apart before they're ready to fight. So I like the move, but you need the whole team to be on the same page. Otherwise, you're kind of just feeding at that point. And that's, you know, what we saw.
They certainly made good dinner of that feed right there. Now we've got Jonomate pushing up to point, but he's kind of alone, and the shield is up to block that shatter, and the grab comes through, taking down Lucio and Jonomate. The team was quite a bit behind that push, so it didn't really work out in anyone's favor on Anthony and Friends. And now they're just getting cleaned up once more.
Yeah, so time starting to become a bit of an issue here. This point B defense a bit more successful for the members of the Cliff Divers, but at the same time, they're not really fully utilizing the map geometry they have to their advantage. They're not getting their soldier up on the high ground, so it does leave them a little more vulnerable here to just being run over by this very brawly comp.
Absolutely. Now we do see Rainy Star going up to the high ground. He is going to try and get some good picks from that there. And Redacted is... Oh! Early shot by Tears though. Headshot onto Rainy Star, and Parthex finds Redacted as well. With 2 DPS down, you can't push this. Jonomate is off on his own journey right now, and I think Parthex is going to punish that. The bubble does come through. This is so punishing to watch right now.
Yeah, Rainy Star's going to be mad after that one. She's not going to be in a happy place if you get right-clicked by a Mei to death when you're playing Hanzo. You should not be getting out-sniped by a Mei. But, I mean, it happens sometimes, and she's still got a minute left on the clock for her and her team to really get this one across the line.
Now, we've got a couple of decent ults on the side of Anthony and Friends, and I hope they can use that Grab Dragons to good effect, but we've seen that Cliff Divers have been really good at responding to it every time, whether it's a Mei wall or a sound barrier. And Roxy here with the cheeky shatter is going to come through. Blizzard and the shatter. Anything you want to do is shut down Parthex and the backline tactical visoring. They may be committing a lot, but I mean, you may as well at this point. Oh, what was that grab? 20 seconds left. You want that grab.
Yeah, I mean, you're always going to be running on almost nothing, but to throw a grab like that, I mean, it was fine that Cliff Divers invested so many ults in there because of the amount of time left, but there was just barely enough to maybe get a touch. You wanted the grab here to combo with those dragons, try and wipe it. They still get Parthex on the approach, but they need to get the touch. The Lucio does get the touch.
Lucio gets the touch, and now they are onto point. Sound barrier shut down by Roxy, though. That's going to be devastating for Anthony and Friends. There's a good anti-nade right there. Roxy's falling low because of it, and actually, Anthony and Friends, they are managing to win this. That anti-nade, that bio-nade was good. Tears is left on point, stalling out, and Tears is getting the kills. They come back. They get it. They won. What? Cliff Divers out of nowhere when it looked like they were going to have to do another fight. The Mei just stalling on that payload managed to give them the win. Tears is tearing Anthony and friends apart right now.
Yeah, definitely the player to watch for the Cliff Divers. And we see this Shatter again, just absolutely just stepping around the corner there, no fear, and no response from the Anthony and Friends tank line by the looks of it, who yeah, just didn't seem interested in turning around to actually square up in front of Roxy. So I mean, fair enough, I guess.
They've got other priorities on their mind.
To be fair, if the main tank's behind you, it means that, and their team's in front of you, it means that their team's exposed. But I don't know. I feel like maybe stopping Roxy from swinging through the whole team, because we've been seeing some great performances from Roxy as well, who's been just really punishing, especially on the Reinhardt.
Absolutely. I think Roxy and Tears are some of the names that we're keeping an eye out. Pathix as well has been pretty top tier. There was a little bit of painful moments for them on the Tracer, but when they go on that Soldier, they know how to make use of their tactical visors and their Helix rockets really well. So really got some key players that are bringing them these wins.
Yeah, definitely. We'll be heading over to our Assault map mode next. And, well, we've already made it to match point in favor of Cliff Divers here. If they are able to secure this one, that should be it for the round. And it looks like Volskaya Industries will be the map of choice. So, bit of an interesting one. I mean, both teams have been favoring a lot of Soldier, and this is definitely a decent map for Soldier. He plays well both on that first and second point. So, a good one to bring out for the defense there. It's probably not the best map for Mei, so it might be a good way. I mean, there are still definitely some Mei choke points, but most of the lanes you're coming through are wide enough that you're not going to get the full wall across all of it. So it's not the worst pick if you're wanting to force Tears away from that Mei, but at the same time, that kind of just puts Tears back on the McCree or another choice like that. And as you said, like there's a lot of high ground around here that can really take advantage of it. That said, it looks like it's more of a dive composition coming out from Cliff Divers again, so that should be an interesting one. Rainy Star back on the Ashe, though, and we did see her have a good performance on Ashe in that first map, so we'll see how their defense holds up here. Ashe Junkrat definitely has a lot of potential here on Volskaya first defense.
Absolutely. Now, if we want to see this dive work, the major thing that they need to get together is just Pathix not getting that early first kill. First death even, sorry. Because that's really what shut down a lot of these dives, and hopefully it doesn't happen here.
Okay, we're going for a forward hold on Volskaya here. Okay, so this maybe not how I would have liked to see this defense play out, because you've got all that space. It's going to make them very vulnerable to the dive. Yeah, Rainy Star already under so much pressure from this dive coming through.
Now, good Bionade onto the tanks, but Tears is ripping through the team with those swift strikes right there, meaning all of Anthony and friends are just falling over one by one, just like that. That was a clean dive. As you said, they just jumped onto Rainy Star, put so much pressure, and then just beautiful plays of Swift Strike swiping through.
Yeah, now I haven't played ranked in a while, so I don't know if people still do it, but people surely don't still regularly hold Volskaya that far forward, do they? I say, knowing that of course they do, but there is a reason that no team worth their salt ever holds a defense that far forward on the map. You've got all of these long sight lines and map space you can use on that point, and it's so painful to just see people not taking advantage of it.
Now, Roxy tried to go in with a good dive, but there wasn't enough follow-up to keep them alive. And, I mean, as I say that, Tears pops out the blade, and there's a good pulse bomb as well. They don't want to play this 2CP. They want the assault over and done with right now. We got Brig trying to come back just to stall last minute. We should see a few more stally swaps coming through, but they are wanting to commit with this current comp. Jonomate tries to touch, but a good sleep. Roxy does wake him up. Nano onto Roxy just to burn through. The electric pain right now from that monkey is just devastating. Rainy Star gets Swift Striked. There's nothing to say except that was just a clean dive, really.
Yeah, I mean, Pathix and Tears just tagged teams and took people down so quickly. I mean, you may have lost your main tank super early on because you jumped on top of a Reaper who decided that they didn't really like that and responded in the expected fashion. But yeah, the tag team work we saw from the DPS there, Tears and Parthex just working together to just wear down a team in record time. You love to see it. And Cliff Divers, 5 minutes, 16 seconds on the time bank. They're looking really good to close this one out. Anthony and friends, we'll see what they've got here, but they might be in trouble here. It's match point against them. That's a huge time bank. We'll see what Cliff Divers have on the defense because Tears is coming back out on that May.
Now, Anthony and friends, they might need a call out to their seemingly Supreme Lord Anthony for a little bit of assistance to try and push through what looks like a pretty dominant Cliff Divers on this map. We haven't seen their defense yet, but it's going to be interesting. Like you said, May doesn't get as much value, but there are still some chokes that the wall could be effective on. They don't want to be caught out by this May because Tears, whether he's on Genji, McCree, or May, has been devastating.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to see another early posted forward defense. And this is not so bad because you have that May. It does allow you to split up the position. You're playing a very brawly comp. You're not as vulnerable to being dived, so it's not as bad. And certainly it does allow you to capitalize the May. So I'm a bit more forgiving of this one. I like the Echo coming out, though, because that's really going to put pressure from a different angle. It means this very ground-based team is going to have a bit more trouble, but Jono gets pinned up against the May wall there, and this fight is over before it's even begun. Here's back to the usual tricks of just really placing these walls so well to just capitalize on the slightest missteps.
Exactly right. I mean, it's just perfect teamwork right there. Tears puts up that wall. The rest of the team jump onto whoever is caught. You saw Parthex come through, just get two perfectly good shots. One onto the Reinhardt, and then one onto, I believe it was the Lucio there. And it just took down both teams. They couldn't even push for that.
Yeah, and the real risk here is that now Anthony and friends are kind of hesitant to push in. They're just poking, although they do manage to take out the Lucio. Tap water fire with that. Gives a go button, but again, Jonathan caught alone, taken out, and there's the Shatter.
The Shatter does get shut down with a sleep by Physex there, but they've lost their Reinhardt. They can't be aggressive, and Parthex now taking down Rainy Star. He's pushing in. He wants to get those kills. He doesn't care. He does finally run away. He got that Bionade. He couldn't risk the death there. This push consistently is getting shut down by Jonomate being taken down by this May wall.
Yeah, they need to push with their Reinhardt, otherwise it's just going to keep happening, and it just again ends up way ahead of the rest of the team. Wall comes up, they get removed, and the whole team's back in spawn.
This isn't Clockwork Vendetta, but it's certainly Clockwork right now. They just May wall, Reinhardt dies. Oh, man, so let's see whether Anthony and friends can get together and manage to do some kind of push there. Echo really needs to fly over this roof and put a lot more pressure onto the team, because it looks like Redacted right now is just playing land Echo and just playing this backline. Early Nano onto Jonomate. He's pushing in. The team is trying to keep him alive, but another Bionade. Here comes the grab. High Noon trying to cancel that out, but realistically doesn't get any kills there. Anthony and friends, they've gotten a couple of kills. They've just got a couple more they need, and this is finally gonna be a point capture.
Yeah, I guess that's the other way to do it, is just build up 6 ultimates and then everyone press Q. They actually managed to get through that one without investing all the ultimates though, which is the silver lining there. Just really the Grav, Nano, and Sound Barrier being invested there, which means they're going to have the Shatter for the next fight. They're going to have Bob, and they're going to have that Echo ultimate as well, which can be anything you want, but realistically we're probably looking at optimally a second Reinhardt, because those double Reinhardt plays are such a headache to deal with, and it means you're getting another Shatter in there very quickly.
Absolutely. Now, they're playing on point, which with May, I would think you'd want to play a little bit up earlier, and Rainy Star gets a really good early kill onto Roxy. Jonomate charges in, a good Shatter connects onto Tears, and they manage to finish it out. Samurai does pop the Sound Barrier, trying to keep the team alive, but Rainy Star takes down Blade Trinity. There's now a Bob on point, so it's making it very scary to try and contest. And you do see Samurai there trying to just wait for the team to regroup. Roxy is trying to push on. Samurai is getting the touch right now just to stall out some time. Tears on point, jumps into a weak corner, and the Rhine shattered by Redacted takes down Roxy. There is a grab, puts all the rest of Anthony and friends. They're a big friend group right now. Blade Trinity's now shattered. This is just constant stall. But I mean, it's 2 CP. If you make the stall work, you can actually win it. And we might be seeing it right now. Joname is taking them down, and Redacted's focusing beam does take out the final 2 supports.
Yeah, it was buying a lot of time off the clock, but they weren't getting the key kills. And you need to start taking people off the game. That's when you can start to see the trickle stall turn around. Without starting to take some of those pieces off the table, though, it is just the stall game. Nonetheless, they've managed to buy some time off the clock. 2 minutes now. It's going to be their time bank as they go for their second push. And Cliff Divers still sitting comfortably with 4 minutes 21 in the time bank, more than they initially started with. So still looking pretty good here for the Cliff Divers, but Anthony and friends, they made that one work. They really snowballed onto that second point very effectively in taking it up on that first push.
The fear here for Anthony and friends is they have 2 minutes. And if they want to do their last strategy of just build 6 ults and try to use them all, they're going to have to build these ults quickly. They don't want to let Tears literally rip through them as they have been. They want to coordinate these Mei walls better so that they don't get caught out by the Mei walls. They want the team together. They want more than just Reinhardt pushing in.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's sort of the big question mark, because even that push that they finally got through, they still did fall afoul to having Jono going in unsupported, getting taken out. So we don't really know if that's been adjusted there, and we don't know if they've got the time. But here they come nonetheless. It's not really much of a change. In fact, yeah, they're running the same thing. I mean, I guess it worked for them, but that's a better opening for them.
Much better. They do manage to get through. May doesn't know who to freeze now, and Jonomate's taken down Blade Trinity. It's a bit even right now, but then Tears and Samurai just getting 2 perfectly placed headshots. Tapfire does take down, Tap Water even takes down Tears, but Camel-tastic DPS Moiras and cleans up the remaining friends of Anthony.
Yeah, the big risk here is Anthony and friends, they have the faster respawn. They could push in here before the defense is ready, and it looks like they might be doing just that. They're still a little spread out, though. No, they are going to have to stop and regroup. So that window of opportunity has closed. But Jono going in super aggressive, and, well,
Jono...
about that one.
Yeah, Jono's aggression, it just was unfortunate. They managed to respond perfectly, even though he got a good charge onto Roxy. Tears wasn't even there, so they could have made a little bit of value from it. But now they're just going to be hiding, trying to wait for Jono to come back, and here he comes. This is going to be one of their last potential pushes. They need to do it right, because they don't have any ults. And early coalescence coming out. Anti-nade onto Roxy, but he gets the bubble to stop any sort of punishment coming through. Jono now trying to build up his ult, but he's walled off. This is what we've been talking about. Good bubble by Tap Water there now. Good Bionade once again, but Jonomate falls. Blizzard and Shatter coming out. This push is pretty much over. High Noon just to sort of try and make anyone who tries to walk through this say no. And that's going to be it right there. Not even
going to be it. Cliff Divers will pick this one up and pick up this series in a clean 3-0. And what a... well, actually, I tell a lie. It's not over yet.
Could be a draw.
It could be a draw. They still do need to cap that point. We're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but there is one other thing I want to say, just because it sounds like we're being very, very critical of Jono. I just want to say, as someone who used to play a very aggressive Reinhardt on a very passive team, I understand. I feel your pain. I understand. We don't know what their comms are like. He could be telegraphing everything that he's doing, and it's just the team not being with him, not following through when he's trying to call what he's doing as the main initiator. I've been there myself. I have fed so many times. And every one of those times, it was everyone else on my team's fault. So I understand that I've been there.
Absolutely, yeah. I do actually kind of agree. I don't think it's fully gonna be landing on Jono May. It looks like a little bit of communication error there. Jono's trying to push through, and we saw a bit better support coming through by the rest of the team. A bit better peel in that second push. You know, Tap Water was getting the bubbles onto it. 3 people were getting through the May walls rather than 1. It was just they tried, but Tears was just a little bit better with those May walls today.
Yeah, Tears has been absolutely on fire. We'll see if that continues here. They've gone back to the dive comp to break through this defense. We see Rainy Stars on the McCree, redacted onto the Reaper there. So they're expecting this dive coming through. And that Reaper is going to be a nasty surprise for Roxy when they jump in.
Oh, early kill onto Rainy Star by Parthix. She's not going to like that kill onto her. The dive is now going to get really aggressive by Cliff Divers. They want to get some kills. They're looking at the Lucio and Brig right now, but Blade Trinity actually gets denecked, and Cameltastic was off on her own, so she gets taken down. Samurai does get a boop onto Brig, but Zeeks, I think this is going to be a hold by Anthony and friends. They may only need 1 tick, but they've got to get a perfect clean kill there.
Yeah, the real risk is just the opportunity, although this... well, we have a bit of a Lucio boot fight going on in the back alley, but yeah, I think it's going to be plenty of time for the defense to reassert themselves, as long as they don't get too distracted by Samurai, who actually, gets taken out there. So there's going to be more time off the clock there. This is, I don't know, this is starting to look maybe a bit possible. I mean, it's still a long time to wait, especially against a team that can pull out the Nano Blade there, but I mean, Anthony and friends have got a first good hold. It gives them a lot of ult advantage coming into that. They're going to have the sound barrier before the Nano Blade's up. They're going to have that Death Blossom very soon. This could potentially be a successful defense.
It'll be interesting to see how they respond to each dive. We got Lucio, Tracer and Genji, trying to push in. Good pulse bomb onto Redact.
Yeah,
he's not going to get value. Roxy then following up onto Brigida right there. Tap Water and Jono both full. This is looking like it's going to be a clean push by Cliff Divers. What a beautiful pulse bomb to push into that as the final 2 fall and point is taken and given to Cliff Divers, a 3-0.
Yeah, I think losing that Reaper there at the start of the fight, absolute nightmare. That is what you're counting on to really prevent the Winston from just being able to be anywhere they want in that fight. And once that piece is no longer on the table, as you said, the dive comes alive. We see them just take the team apart with precision. I mean, Parthix and Tyr play so well together on this Tracer Genji pairing. They're just really good at just cutting up teams, working together to drop people down quickly, get those dash resets online to just keep dashing through people. And it shows. It shows that they know what they're doing with that, because we've seen the fights where they've been able to execute how they want. They just take the team apart so quickly.
Absolutely. Communication is key in dive, and especially on that last point there on Volskaya, they showed us how they can dive, because they tried to show us on Hollywood, didn't really come through, so they just swapped to that broad comp that they were a bit more confident in fighting against Anthony and friends. I think Anthony and friends did put up a good fight as well. They showed that they can hold these defenses and they can fight back, but Tears was devastating. Parthix and Tears' communication was really good, and then even Roxy just following through on those dives. It was all very well coordinated and incredible gameplay.
Yeah, it's surprising that Cliff Divers weren't feeling it coming into it, because they definitely didn't show it. I mean, maybe they were a little jittery on that first stage of that first map, but right after that one, it's just a dominant performance all up from them, and they get their well-deserved win. And so that will be the end of this first matchup. But stick around, everyone. We will be back shortly to bring you our second match of the night, 8-Legged Geeks versus Gaming on Weekdays. So stay tuned, because we'll be back real soon.
What's up with it? Win it. baby? Yeah, what's up with it?
Welcome back, everyone, to Season 11, Week 3 of the Amateur Australian Oceanic Ladder. I'm Pyronius. Joining me this evening is Opara, and we are bringing you now onto our second game of the evening, Eight-Legged Geeks versus Gaming on Weekdays.
Yes, now we've got two more teams playing against each other. Eight-Legged Geeks is also a sort of sister team to Cliff Divers, so it'll be interesting to see whether they can bring the same level of gameplay or not there. Spider Queen being the manager of both teams. They've been together for 14 months, Eight-Legged Geeks, so they've been together quite a wee while now. They were one of the first teams of Spider Queen's sort of team management system, 8LG, as it started out as just a group of friends wanting to hang out and have some fun. So it's going to be interesting to see them. Meanwhile, we've got Gaming on Weekdays, who used to play in the AAOL about a year ago, but then disbanded, and they like to call themselves the retirement home for players from former Orion teams that have disbanded, which I think is just great.
Yeah, I do like that one of the key points we've gotten from the team is that they are in fact Papegas. So we've got that one to look forward to. But these teams should be able to give us an interesting showing here. Both of them, well, we're up a few divisions from our previous one. So hopefully we start to see a bit more of the big brain strats coming out. Although maybe not from gaming on weekdays if they are the Papegas they claim to be. But nonetheless, that should be a good one. If you're just joining us now, it is going to be a best of 5 series between these two. So first to 3 points. And as always, we will be starting on Busan as our first map. And we'll work through the rest of the rotation with the loser picking from one of 2 maps in our pool. We'll get to those as we get to them, I suppose.
Absolutely. Right. It'll be interesting to see how these teams play compared to the first 2 teams we've watched, because as you said, they're a bit higher in the division. So they'll probably start going through the meta a little bit more. I wonder whether we'll see a bit of dive, a little bit of brawl again, or something completely different.
Yeah, I do like that we're still at the level where we can see people more sticking to their own comfort picks rather than being strictly meta, and it's all going to come down to that execution. But we should at least be able to see a bit more team fights where maybe ultimate usage is a bit more pre-planned, and it's not just throwing ults into the team fight because they're off cooldown. Maybe start to see some planned fights with what ults are going to be used and when, and start to see the ultimate economy come into play because, down in Div 12, the ultimate game is... well, it's definitely a thing, but the whole off cooldown analogy is not entirely inaccurate. As you see people either using the ults because they have them up or holding onto them for a bit longer than they should. So we should be hopefully seeing a bit more long-term strategic play from the ultimate usage from these teams, and maybe a bit more in the way of set plays and initiation plans here as well, which will be good to see because Brawler Watch is... it's all fine and dandy, but eventually you want to see some actual planned team fights and not just fights where your DPS pop up and kill the team because no one stopped them. So I'm hoping we see a bit more of that in this one. Just waiting for the players to be ready up, and then we'll be heading into Busan as our first map.
Speaking of players, we've got a little bit of interesting persons of interest here. Both teams are saying their main tank is going to be a person of interest to keep an eye on. Angie and JPAG, or JPAG, not sure how to say the name just yet. So it'll be interesting to see them match up, see what they can bring, and see if they play the same main tanks as well. Because if they're both being touted as good, they should be having some good fights with each other.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good pickup there because, I mean, if both teams are really heavily relying on their main tank's ability to initiate those fights to set up the wins, then it really is going to be down to who can assert dominance in those tank battles. And, well, immediately, so we're starting here on the Busan Shrine, and immediately we're seeing an asymmetrical matchup coming out. We do have JPAG over on the Reinhardt. Meanwhile, their opponent is Falter is coming out on the Winston. So that's it's going to make for an interesting round. We've seen a fair bit of that this evening as well. But I guess so. I'm guessing Angie is actually going to be playing off tank for this one. Maybe just not comfortable on the Winston here. And so swaps up those roles. I don't know, we'll see how that one works out.
Now, immediate bubble onto JPEGs, keeping him alive, meaning he can be a little bit more aggressive on this dive. But Asa taking down Zaki earlier is going to be devastating for old gaming on weekdays right there. The hacks are coming through by Asa, really taking down those key players. Sombra gets hacked, so she can't hack anyone else. Insight now taking down Kenzie, and they're going to be able to dive onto the rest of gaming on weekdays and clean them up. Scrim, the no-name Sombra here, does take out Falter, but realistically that push didn't work out. They're getting a very late cap though, so they didn't get as much time bank as they probably could have.
Yeah, I do like the pressure coming out though. We just saw that one there. Off that early kill onto Zaki, a lot of work being put in there from the Sombra and Asa, and so much pressure being put out. Early sound barrier though coming into this one.
and a Coalescence as well, trying to keep Acer alive, but JPEG does manage to get Acer around a corner, so the Coalescence can't keep them alive, and they do die. Now, big EMP! Big EMP taking down Swanky's legs. He can't wall ride anymore, and Insight's now just burning through all of the team. Gaming on Weekdays, they do still want to commit, and Insight pops the Death Blossom. He said your commitment is not allowed. Run away while you still can. And he takes down the remaining stragglers.
Yeah, big start to that fight from Gaming on Weekdays, a 5-man EMP, but unfortunately they're not able to follow through and capitalize on it, which is really going to put them into a rough spot here. Acer's going to have their own EMP in the next fight, which means this defense is going to be ready to pick a fight and initiate on those attackers. And with 55% on the clock, it means there's not a lot of time to play with outside of this.
Once again, hack onto Swanky. Shatter comes through by JPEG, but there is a grab picking up the Legged Geeks. Acer then responds with the EMP, and a Coalescence coming out just to show them they don't need their ults anymore.
Yeah, they might want that one back, given that there is still going to be one more team fight, but at the same time, a lot of ultimates being used by Gaming on Weekdays as well. So not a lot of room for this one. Zaki's got the Death Blossom, and it's pretty much the only ultimate up. We will be seeing a sound barrier online for the defense as well. So it's got to come down to this early neutral fight here. There's the Death Blossom.
Oh, the Death Blossom gets pushed back, meaning he gets next to no value out of it. Acer does take out Scrim. Here comes a bomb. Doesn't connect onto anyone. The self-destruct doesn't get much value there. And sound barrier just to keep the team alive or the rest of the stragglers. You see JPEG on this little wrecking ball stall, just trying to get any kind of stall for his team. He gets hacked and he's going to be taken down now.
Yeah, bit courageous to run the wrecking ball into a Sombra. In the end, I suppose it wasn't really plan A to begin with, but that was just a dominant performance here from 8-Legged Geeks, who were able to just deconstruct this Gaming on Weekdays composition. We'll see if that continues as we make our way onto the next stage of the sun. We're heading over to the mech bay, so that does suggest a bit more of a brawlier playstyle. We generally see the Reinhardts coming out, and sure enough, Angie going to be going over to the Reinhardt here. So finally, the long-awaited, well, I say long-awaited, one round-awaited Angie v JPEG Reinhardt dust-up will be coming. It is interesting that Angie will play the off-tank for those dive compositions, but the main tank for the Reinhardt composition. It does sometimes happen, but it means that it does make it a bit awkward to transition between the compositions if you're wanting to, say, hold on to a Diva ultimate or something like that, but you want to swap the composition. Nonetheless, we do have our first fight underway.
We do see an early hack onto Angie, meaning she does have to play a little bit further back. She can't have a shield, so she doesn't want to risk the damage. Immortality coming out to keep the team alive, but they had already gotten 2 good kills onto the tank, so a little bit unnecessary. Lakesify getting a nice headshot onto Lucio, and they are getting that early capture there, Gaming on Weekdays, now showing their strengths here on the second map. When they've got the matchup with this Ryan Zarya, they're looking a little bit stronger right now.
Yeah, this is looking a bit better for them, definitely. And, I mean, Blacksify going down early, rather late in that fight. It was a window of opportunity, however. They're not going to be back for this fight, and Insight gets an early kill on Zaki.
Amplification Matrix came out, but they just pushed right through it. They didn't even really care there. Insight getting the critical kills that he wants. They have gotten a few kills. 8-Legged Geeks have gotten a few extra kills there, so they should be able to just capture this point pretty early on. Just Baby Diva stalling it out now.
Yeah, we're going to see a bit more of a delay. Just the Sombra buying every bit of percentage they can off that, but 35% is not terrible for the first fight. I do have to worry about the Sombra, however, because Scrim's going to be coming back with an EMP here, and if you're able to initiate that, that's going to shut down all of the potential ultimates that's coming on. There it is.
And there it is. Beautiful EMP onto a Shatter as well. That's going to take down 3 of 8-Legged Geeks even, and the charge onto Falter. That was just pixel perfect gameplay right there. A great EMP onto a great Shatter. Sombra once again just stalling out for any extra percentage she can and gets 29%.
Yeah, the one downside to taking out your opponent with an EMP is it means they're not committing any ultimates into that fight. As a result, Eight-Legged Geeks are going to be up against. They're coming back on into this one with all 6 ultimates and use their own Sombra initiation if they want. Should be a easy one for them to take apart here. There it is.
There it is. Once again, EMP Shatter doesn't connect onto as many, and Blacksify does get away. Manages to get Transcendence, and a Death Blossom comes through. Falter throws the grab. I don't think he wanted to use that there, Falter. Probably wanted to save that because now you've got 73% and counting.
So extra points there for Zaki, who got the emote in after the ultimate as well, and why not when you're able to pick up the team fight like that? That's the EMP off the table. In fact, quite a lot of ultimates off the table here for Eight-Legged Geeks, who are running out of time to get onto this point.
Early amplification matrix, just making sure they can't take that push, but the rotation is good. They do manage to now get point presence. They're all onto the point there. Hat tries to come through onto Angie, and there's a shatter and a self-destruct. That's actually really good for Eight-Legged Geeks right now, taking down a couple. Angie does fall, but they might be able to use this. Coalescence coming out, burning through Diva right now as the only person left on point. They are going to get that last second flip.
Yeah, a bit of a desperation fight, but they managed to pull it out here. And that's going to see them take control of the point. They need to hold it, though. There's no longer any spare room. They need to avoid giving this one up. They cannot lose another team fight. And Scrim with another EMP wants to make them do just that. Oh, Butcher going down early is a disaster.
Insight trying to get the kill onto Blacksify. There it is. He does get the kill, but Butcher is taken down like you said. Insight was trying to get a Death Blossom from behind. He doesn't really get the value yet, but he's looking for it. He wants to take down Kenzie, and there it is. Kenzie does eat a little bit of it, but she does get demech'd. This fight's a bit messy, but it's gonna probably come through for Eight-Legged Geeks unless something crazy can come through like this right here. A Scrim just cleaning house on Sombra. Now we do see Angie just trying to still tries to shatter, but nothing comes through. Falter gets hacked. There's no way. That point's taken for Gaming on Weekdays.
Yeah, great turnaround there. Gaming on Weekdays, they're able to stick in it and through the teamwork of their DPS, just able to take down the remaining members of Eight-Legged Geeks. A great performance there. I mean, Sombra and Reaper are both so self-sufficient that they really can do that. You know, both of them have ways. I mean, Zaki just heals by killing tanks, and that's all he had to do there. So with that, we'll be heading over to the city center for our final round here, and it does mean that we can see a bit more mobility coming back into play. We do see the Winston Diva back out on the side of Eight-Legged Geeks, but I'm interested to see where this one goes. We actually also see Scrim moving off the Sombra for the first time. Going to be running the Ashe there instead. So Asa no longer playing a Sombra into Sombra. It's going to come down to, yeah, okay, we've got the full Sombra dive instead. And we've got a very brawly comp coming in, so very asymmetrical matchup here. Interested to see how this one plays out. And so far, it's looking pretty good here for Gaming on Weekdays.
Early kill by Zaki onto Winston is going to be huge for them, but there was a huge Bionade that came onto Gaming on Weekdays, which means that Insight and Asa can get a few extra kills. They do manage to cap point, but taking down JPEG up there means that the fight's still live. Winston now dives onto Ashe. Scrim does manage to get away, but Falter, just as quickly as they cap point, they get 10%, and now Eight-Legged Geeks have taken the point back. They said, you can have it for 10, and we'll take it for another 10.
Yeah, they're going to take it for a bit more than 10 by the looks of it, but at least some early pressure from Falter is going to at least drive that Ashe off the high ground. Zaki's teleported up, but under so much pressure there, no, they're fine. So a bit of a duel on the high ground, but in the end, that ground-based composition, not able to contest it from the dive-based composition. And this is dive play, just flexing back to catch the aggression and then taking apart the opportunities.
Coalescence and Valkyrie both come out just trying to keep this brawl alive right now. Zaki does get the kill onto Insight. Good charge by JPEG onto Falter there. Now Bob is out just keeping any kind of line of sight of point safe for old Gaming on Weekdays to take point. But they got, Eight-Legged Geeks got 44%. So they did get a pretty decent scrim. Hello? Scrim?
Hello?
You
Scrim?
okay?
Yeah. That's an interesting game on weekdays. I mean, they flipped the point. They invested a lot to make it happen. I say Scrim wanting to swap over to the Genji right now, not wanting to wait until the next death. So it looks like a very deliberate one there, but Scrim's not going to be here for this next fight. It means it's a very dangerous position.
And out comes the Blade, getting two support. Zaki trying to respond with the Death Blossom, but he reflects the Death Blossom onto Zaki. Now we see Genji and D.Va just stalling out. Scrim arrived so late that he arrived for death, basically. Kenzie just trying to stall out. 46, 47, not much percentage there. And the flip goes back to 8-Legged Geeks.
And what I really like about that is they've only committed the Nano Blade into that to win that fight, which means they've still got 4 ultimates on the table to hold it. It might have been tempting to pair the EMP in there as well. They resist the urge, knowing that they were going to be able to push in without Scrim being there. It was already a 5v6.
Out comes the big bomb, but the EMP gets shut down by Scrim. So the bomb gets no value as well because JPEG can keep that shield up. Bolton has to pop that Primal Rage just to displace them and get any kills they can. He does manage to take down Scrim, and out comes the bomb on the other side. Gaming on weekdays, trying to get anything, but once again, no connections. Was a bit too high, and they managed to get inside. Sound barrier coming out by Butcher right now. It's so back and forth. Shadowed by JPEG, getting a charge onto Acer. Acer. But, I mean, realistically, once again, 8-Legged Geeks, they're getting the critical kills they want. So this is just going to be a really hard fight for Gaming on weekdays right now. They need to kill something, trying to kill Bolter. Blade comes out by Insight, taking down 2, and Zaki's all that's left right now, just wraithing around, trying to stall out this point. But that's probably going to be it.
Yeah, I want to give a big shout out to Garfonts in that one on the Ana, who really set that one up, landed an absolutely sick biotic grenade there that allowed a few key members to be picked off there. And of course, then applying the nano there onto Insight to allow the cleanup to happen with that nano blade as well. But yeah, the unsung hero in that one, definitely Garfonts doing some great work there on the Ana, which is very, very easy to not notice. But oh man, this is such a sick blade from Insight.
Disgusting stuff. You love to see a really good blade come through because swiping through the team and then deflecting that Death Blossom was just beautiful to see. Now we're going to be moving on to our first hybrid map, either Iconworld or Hollywood. It'll be interesting to see what Gaming on weekdays want to choose because realistically, they want to make sure that this dive that 8-Legged Geeks is playing doesn't work out because that dive is really, really good.
Yeah, unfortunately, both of these maps pretty good for dive. So
True.
there's not really a way to get away from it. Unfortunately, it looks like we will be heading to Hollywood of the 2 maps. And honestly, I mean, I don't know. This map pool, there really isn't a great answer because they're both great dive maps. I feel like maybe Iconvold is slightly better for Brawl because of that final stage, but even then, I don't know, like both of them, they really do want dive in that second stage. You can run dive in the first, and third is always going to get grindy on any payload map. So it's really hard to tell which way to go with that one. But yeah, I mean, in the end, Hollywood's where you're going to take it. You've got to try and work around it. If you're able to pick the fights in the close quarters, force your opponents into those tight spaces where they can't take advantage of that mobility, or just try and rush the high ground with your brawl stack, just to reduce the mobility available. Those might be the plays. It's just going to be really hard on that second point because there's so much high ground, so many different options for a dive comp to move around. And we've seen just how dangerous that is earlier tonight.
Exactly right. So we're going to see if 8-Legged Geeks can bring that pain with the dive right now. Gaming on weekends, weekdays even. They game on weekends. They don't game on weekdays, but their name is Gaming on Weekends. It gets very confusing if I do say so myself. Yeah, they're going to want to find a way to respond, whether it's the Mei to slow it down, using that critical hack onto things like the onto the Winston or D.Va trying to jump in. You really want to be able to shut down this dive however you can.
Yeah, I mean, it just comes down to denying them space, denying them options. You can try and run a counter dive, but counter dive is harder than dive because you have to be very careful catching it. Otherwise you just get taken apart piece by piece. And that's sort of what we've seen so far. We'll see what they've got to show us. The other option, of course, is to go for a sky comp, run, say, your Farah and Echo, and just make sure you don't have targets that can really be jumped on. And that can be very uncomfortable if you're running a more traditional dive comp. If you can't get at their DPS and they can just poke you down from long range, that's when things get really uncomfortable. It forces you to make difficult decisions under pressure, and that's how they get you. Nonetheless, we'll be heading over to Hollywood as our second map. Eight-legged Geeks, so far 1 up in this series.
Now, this is where we want to see what picks they bring out, because if they want to run this dive, they want to choose it here early on. They don't want to start off on any kind of brawl and then push into a dive. And yet we do see the dive early on as they're on defense. Dive defense can be a little bit more difficult considering you don't really have the perfect targets to jump. You want to jump that backline as they push in rather than jump the backline while they're trying to hold. But you can make it work, and I'll be interested to see how they do it.
Yeah, I mean, dive defense is all about timing and choosing when to initiate. It's all about making sure that you're still the one picking the fight, and you're picking it on your terms while your opponent is trying to set up. So it really puts a lot of pressure on the main tank to find the openings, spot them, call them, and coordinate that dive. But it can definitely work, and we've seen it at all sorts of levels of play. Do some tremendous things. Dive defense is one of my favorite things in Overwatch, so we'll see how that works out. They do have the early scouting information from their Sombra to help set that up as well.
Absolutely. Now we do see May coming out, like we said. May will try to block inside, but he does manage to rake away from that, meaning the push does have to slow down a little bit. They're just watching where this dive is trying to play right now. Now they're going to push straight onto point. They don't want to take any kind of route. And JPEG is just swinging right now. Maywu doesn't block anyone off, so it has to drop quickly. The bolt, of course, quickly from that Reaper pick by Scrim. Reaper can just burn through dive if he does it right, and that's what we're seeing right now. Butcher taken down, Insight taken down, Scrim just cleaning house right now. The Mayweather to make sure Diva can't even get on. She has to fly through that back wall. And it's just clean plays by Scrim, taking every kill he can, really, right there.
It's going to be a Death Blossom before we get to the second fight. Not a terrible place to be. It's going to put a lot of momentum on this attacking side as Gaming on Weekdays looking to push up and make some space in the second stage. I like this decision because they don't have a comp to take control of that high ground, so they can at least take a lot of space. It'll make things very uncomfortable for the defense, not let them set up where they want to. It should make for a smoother push.
Exactly right, and you can see it right now. The defense is getting all split up right now. They managed to get together, and Coalescence is coming out. They want to push into this. Mayweather blocks off the Coalescence and sound barrier. Keeps the team alive, but a Death Blossom by Scrim. There it was. Blizzard as well came through. That's a beautiful team wipe right there. Team kill. Beautiful stuff.
Yeah, I think they maybe invested a few too many ultimates into that one nonetheless. 4 ultimates to win a fight, even against the Coalescence, seems a little excessive to me. They do still have the Graviton Surge available in the bank, as well as the Nano Boost, which I'm assuming will go onto either JPEG or Scrim there. Both of them very dangerous in close range with that Nano Boost. But so far this card's getting a lot of free push here as the defense looking for their opportunity to initiate. Here it comes.
And I feel like we're going to see an EMP by Axa right there, taking down everyone. Beautiful, beautiful EMP, and the Death Blossom just cleaning up the remainder there. What a great combo right there. EMP, Death Blossom. You love to see some combinations like that with ultimates.
Yeah, it's worked out really well. They win the team fight. They win it cheaply. 2 ultimates for control of the payload. You absolutely take those. That means they've still got a fair few tools in their kit as well. Albeit both the Primal Rage and the Self-Destruct, hard to use on their own here. You're going to need some assist from the Sombra to really make it viable, but hack onto Reinhardt there can be big.
Now Mayweather trying to keep the rest of the team away from doing any damage to the Rhine. And Bolter's Primal Rage, you said it's hard to use without help, but he don't need help. Bolter doesn't care, he's going to push everyone around right there. Swinky trying to wall right away. Scrim does take down Ace, who's looking for insight right now, but Folter is just diving onto people. He knew what he was doing.
Yeah, some nice juggling coming through there. I mean, I say it's hard to use on this map if you don't have any off-the-map opportunities. Oh, here comes Scrim.
Oh, Scrim with the Death Blossom. They were both walled off by the Maywall from Zaki there, and that gave him just the perfect opportunity. Self-destruct, trying to stop any kind of aggression coming through, gets the mech back as well, so that Angie there, he can just use it effectively. Sound barrier coming through, keeping Angie alive, and Coalescence. Angie's falling so low. Maywall once again blocking off Coalescence. Those Maywalls being used very effectively, trying to keep the team alive. And another Death Blossom already! That Death Blossom ultimate building right there.
And when you're best barrel stuffing people with those Hellfire shotguns, you're going to build the charge quickly, and that's exactly what's happening here. Scrim's playing this one very well. And as a result, just under 4 minutes on the clock as we move into the third stage. And this is where the dive defense gets really difficult to execute on. Start to get into these tighter spaces where the Reinhardt hammer is going to be absolutely king in this tank battle. And sure enough, we do see the swap coming over here now. Folter swapping over to a Reinhardt of their own.
And they built so much space, they're basically fighting at the last section of this map already. The rest of 8-Legged Geeks have finally gotten together, so they can fight up there now. But the Maywall comes through, trying to block Folter off. He does get picked up though. Big EMP and Death Blossom in response. They do love that EMP Death Blossom combo, connecting onto 4 of their players. And now Zaki being staggered out. Oh, that is painful to watch.
Big EMP coming through from Asa there. 6-man EMP onto a 4-man Death Blossom. Absolutely dominant in those fights. That is going to give 8-Legged Geeks a chance to stabilize this defense here. But, I mean, JPEG's got the Shatter, and Folter's only just swapped to Reinhardt. It's going to be a big opportunity here, and oh no, Folter.
Folter gets hacked, so he just has to play a bit more passively there in the back line. And the Coalescence coming through though right there. So their aggression gets shut down a little bit. Death Blossom comes through, doesn't get onto anything. Actually, he pops the self-destruct. Once again, no kills. A lot of ults with no kills right now. It's unfortunate to see, but something's got to give eventually. And there it is, Garfonts with the damage all right there onto Scrim. The Nano into Kenzie means they're being aggressive. There's the Earth Shatter onto Folter. He used it first. He used that effectively even. Now the rest of gaming on weekdays just have to fall back. Kenzie getting a bit staggered out. And there's the final kills coming through.
Yeah, big shout out to Asa during that fight. I mean, Zaki got the hack onto Folter there, and I thought that shatter was going to come down. The counter hack onto JPEG denied the initial shatter there, and that meant there was time for it to get back into the fight. Then, as you see, 8-Legged Geeks, they made a storm through the fight, and another couple of very key hacks coming through from Asa.
Asa though, popping the EMP while self-destruct was out, meaning Insight can use the Death Blossom and shut down any push they want to use. JPEG is so deep in there that he just gets punished by Coalescence.
Another great defense coming through from 8-Legged Geeks. They've used pretty much all their resources here to make that one happen. Minutes still left on the clock. We're about to see another EMP Death Blossom online for Geeks on the weekend. So definitely have to, for gaming on the weekdays rather, that's not even, I'm getting the team names mixed up. There it is.
Easy to do. There's an EMP Death Blossom. Gets 2 kills. Death Blossom doesn't get the kills, but JPEG and Zaki get them anyway. Insight fighting on point with Butcher though, making any push not happen right now. JPEG returns to get those final 2 kills. Insight getting a kill onto Black.
Hey, dude.
Blake Safai even. Could be handy, meaning that when they get back to the defense, there's no support right now. And we do see Folter pushing in with Garfonts there, but Garfonts gets hacked. He can't get as much value as he wants, and JPEG does get the kill onto Folter. Self-destruct on point, doesn't get any kills. Insight just trying to stall out, but he gets shattered there. Moira now jumping onto point, getting hacked. Can't dash around with her Wraith there, and that is going to be a push to the end at 13 seconds.
Yeah, 13 seconds. I mean, you finished Hollywood. That's a win in and of itself. It can be a bit of a nasty map to even get that finish on. Finishing with time in the bank means that you're definitely on the scoreboard at the very least. Nothing worse than Nothing worse than it ending out. At least you're going to get that if your opponent gets all the way through. You're guaranteed to at least get a push, right? But still, eight-legged geeks. They played that defense really well. Again, Asa was just absolutely instrumental in the Sombra. They were getting the right hacks at the right time to really frustrate Gaming on a weekday. It took several attempts to finally break through, and break through they do, but not a lot of time left on that one. Now, eight-legged geeks. They get to play the dive on attack, a bit easier to execute as they look to take apart this defense. And perhaps unsurprisingly, we see a very a very counter dive composition coming out from Gaming on weekdays. Wow, where do we get weekends from in the first place? Gaming on weekdays coming out with the May Reaper here, which is not the easiest thing in the world to dive, especially when you've got a Brig in the mix as well. So a lot of anti-dive tools coming out.
Absolutely. Gaming on weekdays has noticed that eight-legged geeks, they like this dive comp. They know how to use it effectively, so they had to respond. And it's good to see that they have responded here. I want to see some good Maywolves shutting down this dive so that they can build up a bit of time back and potentially get a hold if possible. We do see Acer now trying to run through this middle room, trying to see if they can get into the back line. And the dive is already through. Maywolf coming on to Insight and Volker there. Freezing up Volker and Volker, and he does fall. Big anti-nade onto the tanks, Angie and Volker there, meaning they can get the kill. Insight does take out the Reinhardt though, so that could be good for the push. They're going to get that earlier spawn and be able to be a little bit more aggressive. Saki got anti-nated. Saki has to play a bit for the back, and Insight's jumping on 20. He gets a good dash onto Blakesify right there. That is a huge dash. That's going to be an early kill once again. They can, if they want to be aggressive with it, they can. They're just looking for the right dive right now. Insight doing a wee bit of deflecting, gets pulled off. Saki just trying to shut down this Genji, make him not be able to play by freezing him up. He does just get away, and they're managing to keep this point presence right here. The dive's coming through, and Swanky gets taken down by Garfon. It's a good kill. Nano onto Winston, meaning he's going to get a lot of damage and takes down Kenzie right there. JPEG falls to a swift strike, and that's going to be it for this defense, I believe. Yep, Zaki falls, and it's just going to be one by one there. They finally get that capture with quite a bit of time.
Yeah, I like the discipline coming out from eight-legged geeks there. They had an advantage early in that fight, but they didn't press it until they were ready to. They were very careful because they know that there are some very dangerous pieces still in play. They wait for their Winston to come back, then they initiate it. They take down the comp one piece at a time. As a result, they don't lose out on a fight that they should win because they overcommit too early. That said, we're getting a very early defense coming through, which I also like to see. With this sort of brawly comp, you want to be rushing that cart. I want them to be pushing forward even more. And here they come.
Here they come. Briggs Rally did come out during that push, so they don't have that to use, but they do take out Bolter instantly as he tries to jump onto point. Means they're going to be really aggressive on this point right now. Insight ages ago got killed early, giving them the capabilities to play aggressively like this. Bionade pushing them back a little bit, and here comes Folter now. Now the eight-legged geeks, they're ready to fight. They're ready to play on this point, but like you said, Gaming on Weekdays aggression is there. Good EMP into a Dragon Blade right there, but he does die. Transcendence coming through just to keep the rest of the team alive, and JPEG is now just going to stall on that cart, trying to get any time possible.
Yeah, I feel like Gaming on a weekday probably didn't want to back up there at all. Like, when you've got a brawly comp like that and you've got control of the payload, just stick it. I don't know why they backed off there, other than, I guess, a feeling that, oh, we might be too far forwards. But when you're playing against a dive-based comp like that, you just, with a brawl comp, you just make them initiate onto you. Make them use their abilities. You've got control of the payload, don't back off. And sure enough, the moment they give up the initiative, we see the EMP coming out, we see the blade coming out. And now more ultimates coming out.
Early Nano onto Folter, he has to Primal Rage to stay alive, and there was a grab and a shatter and a blizzard happening on the other side of the map. There are two fights going on right now, and that two fight really works out for Gaming on Weekdays because that means that the dive is not coordinated and they can just pick it apart one by one.
that is the danger of running dive into a comp like this. You've got a lot of self-sufficient members. You've got a Mei that can self-heal. You've got a Reaper that will self-heal on your tanks. Means they can get away with being split out. They don't need their healer's attention quite as much. Whereas your dive targets, well, they need to get through that damage in a coordinated strike. Otherwise, the enemy team will just outlast you, and that's what happens there. As a result, again, we see the brawl on the cart. Next fight coming in, but again, this dive comp is not really as coordinated as they'd like it.
Absolutely. You see them trying to dive into high ground, but Mei was up there ready to respond, so they had to run away. Now Reaper and D.Va are responding on the high ground as well. They want to fight on this high ground, but the gaming on weekdays, they're saying no. They're responding well. Bolter falls because of it. This is perfect placement of where you want to be to shut down whatever dive they're going to try.
Yeah, I mean, with the Reaper's ability to teleport up on high and the D.Va there as well, they've got some decent tools for contesting the high ground, which means that they're not completely landlocked. And they're using those tools very well. Again, though, they're backing off on this payload, and I don't know why. You've got a brawl comp, make them take the payload from you. You can play the objective. You're designed to play the objective.
Absolutely, a lot of early space, and the sleep onto JPEG means they have to use the Mei wall just to keep him alive. But he gets hacked. There's a lot of damage coming through right now. Bombed by Angie. He takes down JPEG, and that's going to be a critical kill the dive wants. Nano onto Reaper, but here comes the Dragon Blade right there. There is a Death Blossom, takes down Polter. Dragon Blade though responds onto Zaki. It's gonna look like a good clean sweep for 8-Legged Geeks as they finally take down this pretty strong defense. Once again, like you said, they fell back and the dive just collapsed on that opportunity.
Yeah, they might get a chance to go for the retake here. There's certainly no tanks here that are currently ready. Yeah, they will get onto that one, but JPEG eats a biotic on the way in. Now there's the EMP. This could be rough.
Asa popping the EMP means JPEG is gonna die to Insight. There is a self-destruct by Kenzie, and Bolt is pushing them around right now. It's a little bit back and forth. Blizzard does come out. Insight's frozen up there. It's looking good for gaming on weekdays now. There is just 3 left stalling on point. There is a good anti-nade, but no DPS to really follow up. D.Va's returned to Angie. He's gonna try and get the kill on Kenzie. He does, but he gets demeched just as quickly. Zaki's gonna freeze him up. And this could be it right here.
Yeah, those early, or the closer spawns rather for the defense, really coming in clutch there. And, well, it's desperation time. They need to get on this payload, and there's a shatter in play, which means all you have to do is shatter the payload, and it should be an easy one. Death Loss on the payload, also a valid option. Shouldn't be too hard here for the defense to clean this one up.
Absolutely. There's a blade coming out by Insight. He's trying to bring something through. JPEG responds with a shatter, doesn't connect onto anyone, but he does kill Insight. Garthom's and Angie now coming through. It's so back and forth. This could actually be anyone's game because there's a huge bionade onto Kenzie and Swanky. Swanky's trying to keep his team alive. Sleep onto onto Zaki by Butcher. Here comes the front. They managed to hide behind the payload. Angie's stalling it out. Gets frozen up. Here comes the rest of the defense. Holter trying to protect the team. Huge bionade once again. Swanky's going to fall over because of it. And he does die by a punch from Asa, but Asa falls to JPEG. There's no way 8-Legged Geeks is going to come through. Right? Right, 8-Legged Geeks? Come on. What are you going to do? There is a Blizzard on point. Insight's trying to stall on the Tracer. Self-destruct by Kenzie. Doesn't connect onto anyone. The stall is insane right now. They are absolutely trying to stay at this as much as possible. All we see left now is Insight on the Tracer, and there it is. My gosh.
Yeah, really solid effort there from 8-Legged Geeks, who almost managed to force that one through, but in the end, those defensive respawns are a little too strong. Just so many sick biotic grenades coming through from Butcher, though, who, again, the Annas are the unsung heroes in these team fights. That anti-nade, so important to getting the kills. Butcher was really the one that was keeping 8-Legged Geeks in that one for so long, but in the end, it's not able to clutch it out. So gaming on weekdays are able to pick up Hollywood.
There was very good brawl defense to respond to the dive, because we did talk about how is gaming on weekdays going to respond to the dive, and they did bring out that Mei, they did bring out that Reaper just to say no more no more dive successes there for you, eight-legged geeks. So happy to see the response come through. And now eight-legged geeks are going to have to rethink their plan as we move into Assault. So either Volskaya or Anubis. So we're going to see what they want to choose if they want to continue running this dive.
Yeah, it does look like we'll be heading over to Volskaya for the map. So that, I mean, of the two of them, I mean, Anubis, you definitely don't. You can run dive on the first. I mean, you can run dive anywhere. You can run dive anywhere, but second point Anubis can be so hard to clear out with dive. While Skya probably marginally easier with dive just because it gives you some tools if they're playing someone on that high ground to actually get up onto the high ground. So I think of the two maps, Volskaya probably the more dive friendly one. But again, these maps, I mean, it's Assault. Assault's always going to be Assault. There is no map that is fantastic for dive on Assault compared to everything else. I mean, I guess Hanamura comes closest, but yeah, there's just Assault, man. It's just Assault.
Yeah, exactly right. Assault's never fun for any side, any team on any side sometimes. Definitely, it's going to be interesting seeing how they use this dive. We did see some pretty successful dives on Volskaya in the previous game. Cliff Divers really showing us how you can use dive successfully. So hopefully, Eight-Legged Geeks, their sister sort of team, might be able to bring the pressure as well.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure that their divers look pretty good so far. So I'm sure we're going to continue to see more of the same. It's going to be on Gaming on Weekdays to come up with the answer to that. At least this time, they don't have the ground to back up and give away quite as much. Obviously, control points or assault capture points are a bit more static than the payload, so they're going to have to play around those objectives. But with a brawly comp, that's what you want to be doing anyways. I mean, my main criticism of Gaming the Weekdays in the previous map was that they were backing off when they didn't need to. And looks like maybe we're not going to be seeing dive out of Eight-Legged Geeks here. They're locking in a brawlier comp as they roll out here on the defense. Sorry, they're not rolling out on the defense. They're setting up on the offense. We've swapped sides. So we'll be gaming on Weekdays. We'll be defending first. And they're actually going to be bringing out the Genji. I mean, we saw Scrim on Genji before. Scrim putting on a decent performance. Definitely a bit of a mixed comp here. They're still keeping that Reaper, so probably expecting the dive coming through. But going to be Reapers on both teams, and Asa back onto the Sombra, who's been so good.
Absolutely, those critical hacks can just win a team fight by shutting down everything you can do. So hopefully Asa can bring a bit of pressure, especially onto the Genji. Shutting down basically all his mobility can be devastating for a team. And we see very early pressure by Eight-Legged Geeks onto point. They've already taken point presence, and they've gotten 2 kills because of it. Zaki does respond, taking down their main tank, Angie. He's fallen now. But JTAG has to play the shield game because inside is doing so much pressure. And that's going to be a pretty quick point capture for Eight-Legged Geeks.
Yeah, it's a great capture for them. They've got a lot of momentum coming into the second fight as well. Insight is 80% towards that Death Blossom. Asa only slightly behind 50% towards the EMP. And we're seeing some comp swaps coming through from the defense as Scrim going to swap over to the Doomfist. So not a lot of ultimate for the defense. Real snowball potential coming through here if Insight's able to get a good Death Blossom. Just a shame Asa didn't have a little more, but as we see, Asa pushing very far forwards, trying to farm up that ultimate. They want to EMP blade this one before there's any defensive options available.
Now, there was so much response to Asa that look how much space it has given Eight-Legged Gaming. I mean, as much as I say they've gotten all that space, I guess Gaming on Weekdays don't care. They decided to take down everyone with just a couple of good swings, fire strikes, and a charge.
Yeah, I mean, that's the risk of brawl comps. They don't necessarily need the initiation tools. They can just run over you with raw damage, and that's exactly what happens there. The snowball potential closed a little bit, although as long as that EMP blade combo is on the table. It will never truly be gone. They don't have any defensive ultimates from the supports that can bail out of it either. So it's going to be Swanky with the immortality, the only tool to answer that, other than, of course, just playing very split up. But that's sort of what we're seeing from them as a response to that. Acid goes down early yet again.
Getting an early punch into Acid is going to be huge for gaming on weekdays. They're going to be able to push up way more aggressively, and you can see them playing so far up right now. There's no Sombra to hack them, no Sombra to shut down anything they want to do. They've told them go all the way back to spawn.
Yeah, that's what I like to see from it. You've got the big comp that's there to bully people, and it's exactly what you want to do once you get that early advantage. I do like that when they're setting up for these fights, though, they're really spreading out. You're not going to land a 5 or 6 man EMP because of how spread up everyone is.
Exactly. Now Zaki, huge Death Blossom. Oh my gosh, he didn't care. He just wanted to pop it right there. That was incredible stuff. Amplification Matrix coming out to just keep the team alive. But Zaki's Death Blossom taking out 4.
Yeah, spin to win, and there it is. And again, we're seeing good discipline coming through from this defending side. Now, they do have to worry about the big 6 coming in, but I mean, we've been worried about 8-legged Geeks coming in with ultimates since this second point unlocked, and they haven't managed to initiate a fight yet because this defense has been so proactive. And there it is again.
Early punches by Scrim every time. JPEG now responding with the Earth Shatter. Acid, I believe, did pop the EMP, but it didn't really get any value because the rest of the team was already shut down.
Yeah, that was like such a key fight for the defense there because they've managed to have their opponents use 3 ultimates into that fight and still won it cleanly. And in fact, won it cleanly without really relying on much of their own resources. So it means it's going to be a while until Acid is able to get that EMP back online. It'll be a while until Angie's able to get that Shatter back online. And it's going to be so hard to clear out this defense without the big fight-winning tools. I mean, Assault, second point, it's always about those clean fight wins to try and get the progress.
But they do get an early kill onto Scrim. That means they can start being aggressive. Zaki trying to be in the backline, trying to take down this push before it starts. Hack onto Zaki. It does manage to pull back to the team. Big bio, and here comes the grab. They're wanting to win this, but the sleep onto inside, trying to Death Blossom. That's going to be devastating for them, and you can see it right there. JPEG responds with another Shatter, and that's just going to be a complete team wipe right there.
Yeah, I've said it before this matchup, I'll say it again, and I'll just keep saying it. The Annas are the unsung heroes of these team fights. Huge biotic grenades, huge sleeps. This is the moves that are winning the fights. The DPS may be getting the kills, but it's the Anna play that is winning these team fights now. Or at least that one. Obviously, Scrim putting in some incredible work on that Doomfist before getting those first picks was winning those fights. Scrim swaps over to the Soldier here. So probably looking to play a bit more passively, take advantage of this high ground. As I say that, they're running around aggressively on the low ground, so what do I know? But good hack into JPAC coming in this one, though.
8-legged Geeks do have that high ground, so they did manage to get a really good push onto point, and they've now got that point presence they want there. Charged by Angie, he takes down JPEG, and there is a response by Zaki, but it doesn't get any kills. The Death Blossom doesn't connect, I think because the Nano accidentally went onto Swanky there rather than onto Zaki, meaning there wasn't that damage. Now Swanky is left on point. Angie, JPEG even, he's just trying to stall out right there on the Wrecking Ball. It's just going to be desperation picks trying to get any kind of early kill. Zaki on the Doomfist could recover. And as I say that, the rest of the team is returning. Ace now takes down JPEG, and Scrim is taken out. Big hack right there. Big EMP. Does mean that gaming on weekdays isn't going to get much value. They're finally going to be able to capture this. There isn't too much time bank left. They're just going to keep trying to stall out that time bank, get as much down as possible, potentially get them into the 0 seconds if possible. Here comes Scrim, but there is a grab to shut down anyone coming through the main path. They have to go through the side path. Swanky gets shattered, he does land on the point. That means Kenzie can come through. Death Blossom by Insight at the doorway trying to stop anyone coming through, but JPEG lives. Now he's going to roll around, and Kenzie on the Baby Diva trying to get that time back to 0, but they get 14 seconds.
Yeah, a solid effort from the defense trying to stall that one out. If they had managed to get it down to 0, that would have been absolutely huge. But with so many people on the point, that spawn timer was really getting untenable, and no longer were they spawning anywhere near fast enough to be able to keep that trickle up. So solid effort nonetheless. Getting it down to 14 seconds is very good there. And they played that defense really well. So you've got to be happy with that one. You bled a lot of time off the clock there. Because remember, they lost the first point on the first fight. They then almost held the second point all the way through to 0. So great second point defense coming through.
Exactly right. You want to be able to shut down every push they did, and that's exactly what they did. Even when they had 6 ultimates on board, they managed to win a fight whilst the enemy team, whilst 8-legged Geeks or Gaming on Weekdays, whichever one it was, I'm sorry, was pushing through. They tried to use their ultimates, but 3 got used, and it just completely got shut down.
Yeah, great defense coming through from Gaming on Weekdays. Let's see if their attack is looking hot here as well. And it looks like Zaki will be reprising the Doomfist. It's interesting, like Zaki was on the Doomfist at the end, but Scrim was the one playing it in sort of the middle of that one. So it's interesting that both players feel comfortable on the Doomfist. We'll see. It makes for a very interesting aggressive comp, because you've got the Doomfist for initiation, but then you've got a soldier who generally wants to be playing quite run back, and then you've got your Brawl Reinhardt, but a Diva for high ground pressure. It's sort of a comp that's a little all over the place, and I don't know how well that'll work. Meanwhile, you've got an Ashe Sombra-based defense here with the dive tanks that can just jump on any low health targets.
Exactly. Yeah, but I mean, early kill by Garfonts onto Soldier does mean he's not going to be there for that fight. And a Dynamite is really shutting down this ball that they're trying to do. JPEG is trying to get on point, but meanwhile, Zaki and Kenzie, they have to fall back because Kenzie got demeched. Garfonts just on this high ground, getting kill after kill. Insight's taking Scrim down again. The Soldier pick is struggling right now.
Yeah, I really like this defensive comp, because really what it is your Ashe lands a big Dynamite, getting pocketed by the Mercy, getting the damage boost, you get some big damage onto a bunch of people, and then your tanks and Sombra go in and capitalize on that and secure those kills. So it's a team comp that has a purpose. You got the Zenyatta there with the Discord Orb as well. So it is a really good defensive dive comp. And this attack comp maybe a little too scattered in purpose to have that sort of synergy here. And as a result, well, we can see this attack rotation taking its time getting around, because the Ashe just plays so far back and they don't really have a way to initiate onto it.
Now, Kenzie gets hacked and falls so low, they need to commit Nano, and Nano gets wasted because they still get the D-Mech there. Hack onto JPEG means he's gonna fall. They do pop the tactical visor, taking down Butcher's DPS versus there. But tactical visor taken down too. Inside does pop the Bob though. It's going real back and forth. Zaki now trying desperately to do anything, and he does manage to get away, taking down Folters whilst he runs away. And now it's just Angie and Zaki fighting on this point here. But the rest of the team returned. JPEG has managed to return. Kenzie's here now. The early spawns for the attacking team has just come in so much value.
Yeah, I think Asa probably wanted to hold on to that EMP there. I mean, 2 tanks against a Lone Reaper is a very sketchy fight. And sure enough, with the reinforcements coming through, but they're still committing into it.
A Primal Rage straight onto point. Mercy joining in, but does get taken down. Mackenzie Butcher falls so low. You see the Primal Rage just jumping constantly into the air. Folter trying not to falter, but there he goes. He's been taken down by JPEG. Angie now touching. They're just going to commit with these 2-second respawns. You may as well, if you're already here. Garfonts and Insight just need to fall. Get that quick respawn now.
Yeah, the problem with that late primal onto the point, I mean, that was not a winnable fight, and you've just given over so much extra ult charge with your Winston. The snowball potential here is so strong, and they're just gonna, like, they're not even grouping up, they're just pushing aggressively onto this point. They might have just thrown away their snowball.
They self-destruct and Nano and Shatter. They're pressing every Q they can right now. And it's working out. Transcendence has to come through to keep the 3 alive. But a huge anti-nade means Transcendence gets 0 value. There is a tactical visor, but Bob's on point. Bob has a lot of HP they need to get rid of so they can start building up this point progress. The snowball was a little bit confusing, but they have managed to get it through here now. Falter trying desperately to stall, but he does fall. Now we see Butcher, we see Asa on the Reaper. Zaki pops Death Blossom. He's gonna take down 2. Asa now desperately stalling, and Angie, he's just baby devering all in all. Garfont's falls. That was a quick response to that first point win where they just kind of staggered themselves out.
Yeah, Cammy on the weekday, they managed to push that through, and in the end, they secure it with a decent time. 3:55 on the clock means that they definitely have the initiative coming into Volskaya overtime. A minute on the clock for Eight-Legged Geeks to try and make this one happen. Their first point take the first time was very good, but they really got stopped up on that second point. Let's see if the tune is the same here. This is going to be a lot of pressure on them to try and keep this one alive. That's a big time bank they're up against.
Yeah, 1 minute versus pretty much 4 minutes is pretty scary stuff. They want to at least get 1 tick here so they don't fall into any kind of draw potential. They want to be able to find some kind of victory here, so they want their push to be good. They're committing with the Rhine Zarya once more. Angie, he's on Rhine, Falter on Zarya here. We do know that Angie is considered the main tank, so potentially the reason they're doing this is purely because maybe Angie's comms, Angie's leadership could just be that little bit more confident on the main tank. So it's going to be interesting to see.
I think Angie's probably got the stronger Reinhardt, but Falter has the stronger Winston. So we see them swapping roles a lot. But if what they want to be running is primarily this Reinhardt-based composition, well, I mean, it's been a real toss-up with them between which way they've gone, but they're going to be running the hack and slash DPS, so they've definitely got the tools here. Problem is, this composition really wants the ultimates online to actually succeed, and with a minute left on the clock, it's not enough time to get it happening. You can see already, like, half their time is gone. They're nowhere near these ultimates. They need to get in there and brawl, and I feel like this brawly defensive comp is going to be better here, given the state of the time bank.
Exactly right. Early hack onto Insight means that he's not going to get any value right now. He's not going to be able to swift strike into their team. Early immortality, but it gets value as Zaki takes down both the tanks, and losing those tanks is going to be devastating right now for Eight-Legged Geeks right here. Asa falls by Kenzie. Someone's gonna have to try touch. It's probably gonna be Insight. There it is. He does get on, but he gets hacked immediately. Now Butcher trying an amplification matrix just to get the kills, really.
Yeah, well, when you're in overtime, why not? But
yeah,
Gaming on the weekday, I think they won that one at the hero selection screen because they definitely had a better comp for the situation that was going to play out. And sure enough, Eight-Legged Geeks, they're not able to get anything going. If you're going to be running the hack and slash, you really need enough time to make sure you get those ultimates up, because Sombra Genji in the neutral game is not a lot of damage. And when you're playing into a Reaper, well, I mean, your tank line was dead before anything else could happen.
Absolutely. So now with just 1 tick left, Gaming on Weekdays, they've got 4 minutes. They can take their time. They can build their ults. They're not really stressed at all. Meanwhile, Eight-Legged Geeks, they have to try and stall this for 4 minutes just to get a draw. It's really quite painful when you're in these situations where you can't even consider it a win because it's just a draw.
Yeah, when you're playing for a draw, you can't give up a single tick. It's so rough, and it can be so hard to do. I mean, we've seen it happen, but it really does require a perfect storm, and there are better maps for it. Volskaya, fully held. I mean, there are some great Volskaya defenses I've seen happen, but not anything I've seen recently. We'll see if they're able to make it happen. I did like this Volskaya defense from them, but let's see if they can make it work for them. Aster is going to be over on the Tracer instead of the Sombra here, so that does give them more damage when they're looking to capitalize on those dynamites, but well, we have the Brawl comp just making their way onto the point. They need to engage on it.
Absolutely. They just jump straight onto point, which is what you want. You want that one pick, so you want the early pressure there. And you can see JPEG and even Zaki just putting so much pressure. Kenzie does take down Folter, but Insight gets the kill onto Zaki, even though Insight was falling so low. They get the res onto Folter. JPEG does kill Butcher during it, but Folter's now taking down Swanky. This is a back and forth fight, which does work out for the defense right there, because they got just a couple more bodies alive.
Yeah, they've managed to get the first defense, but I mean, whether or not they can hold it, they lost some people. They've got people still coming back from spawn. As you can see, the people pushing up, they've actually had to drop back just to make sure no one gets picked off until they've grouped up. You managed to get everyone back for the second fight, so not going to be a snowball opportunity just yet. But still, this is a big opportunity here. I've actually seen Scrim swap over to the Tracer as well. It's going to be a bit of Tracer v Tracer action. But oh man, that's such a risky dive.
Early dive onto the top works out though because of the dynamite. The dynamite puts so much damage that they could get Kenzie out of the mech and just take down JPEG so easily. The punch onto Ace by Zaki is devastating to see though.
It's good, but I don't know if it's going to make the difference. I mean, Tracer's going to get back one of the fastest from everyone. And, oh, yeah, this is looking pretty decent for the defense. Half the time gone. The attackers have just popped the sound barrier on a fight that I don't really think they could have won. They're trying to force it forwards.
They pop Nano
really good.
bags. Out comes Self-Destruct and Transcendence. JPEG gets the shield up. He manages to stay alive. Bob is also out. And Ace has taken down Lakesify. So that's going to be really hard for gaming on weekdays. I mean, they've gotten a lot of ults out from 8-Legged Geeks. They practically used everything I can think of. So,
I think I thought the sound barrier was a mistake, but it got so many ultimates out of the defense that it kind of forgave itself, and now, I mean, the members here of 8-Legged Geeks, they're running on nothing here. Like, they've only got the third to pick up. They have managed to get 3/4 of the time down now. A minute left on the clock, maybe 2 team fights left, but now the initiative is definitely on the side of the attack here.
Absolutely, and we see an early push all the way onto high ground. They're looking for this rotate. Here comes the self-destruct onto point. Shadow doesn't connect onto anyone, though, but it does take down Butcher. The self-destruct does manage to get Butcher. We see a pulse bomb onto Folger as well. Folger's taken down. This is going to be the tick they want right here. Insight now just desperately trying to do something, but they do get the tick. There is no draw today.
Absolutely. Gaming on the weekdays, pick that one up, get themselves up to match point. Only one more map, and they'll be able to get that one across the line. It's going to be on to 8-Legged Geeks once again to pick where they want to take it next.
Yeah, you want to see something that's going to really shut down their super brawly comp, because you do see gaming on weekdays, they love the sprawl. They know how to work it really well now. So they've made it something of their own, really, and they've shown that they can use this to shut down.
Alrighty, so we'll be heading over to Escort for our next map mode, but first we're just going to take a short break. Don't go anywhere, we'll be back really soon so to bring you the conclusion of this series.
Yeah, what's up with it? Yeah, with it.
Welcome back, everyone, to our matchup between Eight-Legged Geeks and Gaming on Weekends for Week 3 of Round 1 of the 11th season of the Amateur Australian Oceanic League. I'm Peronius. Joining me is Opara, and we are at match point with Gaming on Weekend 2 maps to Eight-Legged Geeks 1, heading into Junkertown for what could be our final map of the series.
Absolutely. Now, Junkertown, quite interesting map to choose. It's going to probably see a few longer-sighted heroes, maybe the Widow, but probably more likely Ash, maybe a McCree coming out. Though that tends to be quite valuable, especially at the start of Junkertown. So it'd be nice to see something like that come through. And it's going to be interesting to see how they work the dive, because there's a lot of open space. So there may not be as much value on the dive, not as much high ground.
Yeah, very hard to run dive on the first point of Junkertown because those sightlines are just so long. I know last week when we were seeing Junkertown, we were seeing the classic Hanzo Widow offense that really does take you back when you think about it. So it wouldn't be too surprising if we see a bit more of that. And definitely pays to have those big rectangles on the payload, because it is just so far, those sightlines so long, it's you can be like 2-3 jumps away, so it's very hard to initiate those dives if your enemy is going to be playing a sniper based composition here.
Exactly right. Now, it's going to be interesting to see what Eight-Legged Geeks do, because they've tried the Rhine Diva, Rhine Zarya matchup to try and match the Brawl, but Gaming on Weekdays tend to just be a little bit more confident in it. It seems like they tend to come out on top when they run both Brawly comps. So it'll be interesting to see whether maybe on defense they bring out, who knows, the Orisa, the Sigma, something just completely out of the ordinary that maybe Gaming on Weekdays just can't expect.
Man, it feels weird to be saying Orisa Sigma is out of the ordinary after being so dominant for so long, but boy, am I glad to see Reinhardt back in the game. That's for sure.
Absolutely, Reinhardt's great.
Yeah, I think we've all had a little too much of Orisa jail, so it's good to see main tank players getting to have fun again. Well, sort of. Nonetheless, we do see Asa on the Hanzo rolling out here. Insight's gone back to the Genji. Bit of an interesting pick, but you've got the Ana there, which means you've got the potential for the Nano Blade. But I'm wondering if we are going to see Scrim rolling out here on the Bastion. No, it looks like perhaps not. I was wondering if that was a troll pick or not, because if you're going to be committing into that, you probably don't want Ryan Diva. So they will be coming out with the Hanzo, and Echo is an interesting one there. Just going to be a little hard to shut down if played right.
Exactly right. I mean, not having a Widow pick on this defense means that Echo could get a lot of value here. Genji and Hanzo, I mean, they can take down an Echo. It's going to be interesting to see. So currently, they're just leaving Reinhardt sort of playing up on point while the rest are taking the high ground. Pretty typical sort of standard push we're seeing the Gaming on Weekdays do right now. And Angie is fighting back, taking JPEG down quite a bit because of that disco, but Ace is taking down Zaki, and that's what you want to see by the Hanzo. You want to see Hanzo take down Echo so that she can't get value. Like, Savai does bring Zaki back, which means that Asa has to work hard again. Angie, though, taking down JPEG. Garfont's falling to Scrim, though. It's a bit back and forth, but that's technically favorable for the attack because it's a long walk back for the defense right now to get one of the healers back, and also quite a bit of damage with that Discord orb. And we see JPEG now back. He's going to start swinging. Dragons come through, though. Doesn't really connect onto anyone, but splits the team up. They could get a lot of value out of it. JPEG gets nano, but the shatter is good. Flexify trying to get the res, does get Zaki back into the game, but Insight killing everyone right now. It's, once again, the attacking team, they're wanting to commit, and it's working out for them. It's looking like they're going to win this fight, but it's so hard to tell right now. Garfons is insane with these kills, and Insight just supporting him. He's going for, they do manage. Oh my gosh!
This is CPS then, it's fine.
Yeah, Garfons can carry the whole team.
Oh no.
Shatter shutting down the Nano Blade, trying to charge through. There's a little bit left, and the Acer manages to get the kill onto JPEG. The defense could bring it back, but the attacking team just has such better spawns. Dragons split up the team, but they do manage to get in front. Zaki now trying to burn through Angie. He gets the kill. Headshot onto Insight there. They're finally pushing up again. Oh. This has been such a weird fight. Transcendence thrown in. Not really probably necessary considering this is a lost fight. And the self-destruct as well. Garfons, he just wants to carry the team by himself, I'm guessing right now.
Yeah, I mean, well, if it's working, I guess. I mean, I don't know. That is, as you say, such a weird fight there. In the end, it will be ground out basically by the spawn advantage on the side of the attack here. So Gamers on the Weekday going to be able to take up that first point. I feel like there's so many opportunities there for Eight-Legged Geeks to wrest control of it, but they just kept throwing their resources into that fight so willy-nilly. And now an early kill from Insight onto Blacksify means they've got an opportunity to take back control of this payload, but there goes Angie super early.
Angie gets anti-naded, and that just means that he gets taken down really, really early there. Bolter now trying to just stall out, trying to make this point not get any more progress. He's going to get demeched and taken down as well. That was devastating stuff considering they got that early kill, and they also got a really good bio-nade, but the bio-nade from from Swanky was just a little bit better.
Yeah, Garfons again lining up the kill feed. I think probably has the most eliminations on the side of this defense so far. But now Asa with the Dragons out, going to surge forwards as well. And finally the defense is going to dig in and establish themselves after what has been a very strange opening to Junkertown. But they've got a good position. The payload's in a great spot to have it stopped up as the defense. This is where they need to dig in and make it really hard, but they've got the tools to make that happen.
Garfons was one of the other players of interest that we got given, and he is showing us why right now. It says Garfons on Zen, and he is absolutely insane, getting beautiful right clicks, beautiful headshots. JPEG now nanoed onto the point, but he's kind of alone. There is a nano blade in the back line. Immortality comes out, gets taken out quickly. Doesn't get many kills. He does manage to take Blacksify down early. Anti-nade onto JPEG means that he's going to fall to Acer, and that's going to be a 1 defense right there.
Yeah, Kenzie going to get quite badly staggered out, but I don't think anyone spotted Zaki, who's managed to just hide in this corner here on Reaper. That could be a nasty surprise later on, especially as the Death Blossom is ready. But that's the defensive fight win we wanted to see from that one. They only used the Nano Blade to win that one. They've got some other tools that are going to be coming online soon. They've got the Shatter, which could be absolutely big, but they got to get around JPEG Shield to make that one happen.
Now, JPEG is starting to push up, but he's been discorded, so he's getting a little bit of struggle there. Zaki does pop Death Blossom, but Transcendence comes out, keeping the team alive. Insight does take JPEG down during that push. Now, Angie, he can just get real aggro. He's going to start pushing up like crazy, and Insight still harassing the backline. Wait, there's a Blade down the backline, though. Scrim, though, in the backline, he's taken down 3, and that's going to mean that the Gaming on Weekdays can finally start pushing up.
Yeah, it's a late Hero Blade from Scrim, but it's clean, takes out both supports and a DPS. And with that and the reinforcements starting to arrive back for Gaming on Weekdays, they should be able to get this one across the line. Don't go for it, don't go for it, you can't get there. Oh.
They jump on Angie's Fallen. Insight's taken down. They do pop Coalescence just to confirm the win. That could be the value what you want from that defense, but it was
Coalescence charges so quickly that I find it, that is the amount of space you're giving up by losing that one. It's not worth it in my eyes. Nonetheless, Gaming on Weekdays are going to be able to surge forwards. They've got the comp to take control of this high ground as well. So this is going to put a lot of pressure onto the defense if they want to use it to do so. And I mean, defensive tools. We've got a Blade, but we're still only halfway to the Nano. I mean, maybe Grab Dragons is obviously your win condition here, but against the dive comp, it's so hard to catch them in the right place to make that happen.
Exactly right. They're so split up. It's going to be hard to find. There is an early bomb. Takes down Acer. That's going to be huge for Gaming on Weekdays. They can commit with this. And Inside, though, does respond, taking down JPEG. Swanky's taking down Butcher. That is a lot of critical healing gone. There are kills going back and forth right now, but it's going to be good for Gaming on Weekdays as they continue to just get payload progress. Defense may have better spawns right now, but they have better presence on payload, meaning they're getting so much progress. Bolton now just being able to try and fight on payload, but he's still falling back. Acer gets a good kill onto Swanky. That's what you want to see. JPEG's discorded and he gets taken down because of it. There is a Blade once again. Another Hero Blade, but the Transcendence is good this time. Keeps the team alive. There's no hero today, unfortunately for you, Scrim. You do take down Angie, but that's about it as defense do manage to sustain.
Yeah, the good biotic grenade from Blackstify to allow that one through, but it's not going to happen. You're not going to get away with that one twice, and good coalescence, not coalescence, good transcendence there from Garfonts, keeping the team alive. More importantly, look at all these defensive ultimates online. They've got both the Nano Blade and the Graph Dragons. With 30 seconds left, that is 2 fight-winning combos with only 1 team fight remaining.
And here comes the Nano Blade, but Zaki does pop Death Blossom. 2 kills both sides right now. Insight trying to get some good kills with the Blade. He does manage to take down JPEG, and here is the grab as well. No dragons because obviously he's respawning right now. Kenzie, though, Baby David is taken down, and so is Scrim. That's going to be the one fight I don't think anyone can touch.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to get back onto that one. And sometimes when it's a late fight situation, all you need is the grab, grouping them up so you can knock them down. It's exactly what happens. And so right on the doorstep of completing Junkertown is where 8-Legged Geeks will stop this push. Now it's on the Gaming on Weekdays. It's still, I mean, this being Junkertown, it's a respectable distance, still very winnable here. But it's all going to be down to these early defenses. So if Gaming on Weekday want to close this one out, they're going to need to stop things up on first or second point. Both very viable. There's some very strong defensive positions on both of these points. You could see a full hold under the bridge on point A, or a hold towards the tail end of point B. Or, of course, just not managing to make that distance in C as well. But you'd really prefer to end it before you even have to sweat about that one.
Exactly right. But 8-Legged Geeks, they have to be feeling good right now. They've given themselves a win condition, which is so critical in payload maps, because the scary thing about payload maps is when you get overtime pushes, and it's more common than you think, unfortunately. It can be quite painful sometimes to watch those overtime pushes go so far. So giving them that win conditions means there's no chances of Gaming on Weekdays being able to push again.
Yeah, absolutely. So we will be rolling out here. Genji's on both teams once again. Asa's going to be reprising the Hanzo. Zaki's still on the Reaper. So interesting compositions coming out. Falter is, of course, back on the Winston there. So they're going for the more dive-oriented attack here. But it's more of a pick dive using Asa on the Hanzo. And it does mean they don't quite have the same brawling power. And that could be the undoing. But Insight needs to get the kills faster than the defense can, and so far the defense is looking pretty good here.
Insight is taken down, and Scrim gets Acer. The defense does have to fall quite far back because of how far up Falter's pushing, but he's going to get punished for it at the same time. He does just manage to get away. They've already managed to push around this first bend into under the bridge. The defense just fell back. They gave them so much respect and just falling back, pressing that S key rather than W, meant that Falter could get away alive, unfortunately for them. Now Falter on the high ground again. He's getting a lot of value. Amplification Matrix comes out by Swanky. Scrim does get the kill onto Falter here, which means defense can play a lot more aggressively. There is a good Swift Strike onto Blake Safai, but Scrim once again taking down their DPS picks. This is looking quite messy right now. I think we need to see a regroup.
Yeah, this is exactly where the defense want to be holding on this point. This is the strong position, and it means that they can just brawl around this point. Dive really only works if you can actually get onto the squishy targets, and it's not the easiest thing in the world, especially with Zen now able to come back on that high ground and play from up there.
We see a blade come out. It is responded by the Transcendence, but Butcher gets taken down just before Transcendence can get there to save Butcher. But the attacking spawns are good. They could stay alive. Dragons come out, does take down Swanky, and Insight's taking down Blake Safai as well. That means there's no support for the defense now. No more healing means that if they get aggressive, the team should collapse. And there goes JPEG, and Kenzie's just going to fight on point. Scrim, though, taking down 2. Scrim is disgusting on this Genji right now. Scrim, even though the fight may seem out of it, he's going to try and get those last few picks and then run away.
Yeah, I like the hero play from Scrim. It means they can go for this retake. They're going to have a good chance to do it. Oh no, Angie pushing up on the Diva, practically feeding at this point. Manages to back away. It's not over yet. I think maybe if the defense went a little earlier, they might have actually had that, but they're committing the ults now to make it happen.
Both support ults come out, and they've gotten the point presence now. Blade comes out by Insight, but doesn't collect onto anyone. Zaki pops the Death Blossom. Everyone's dead around him or way too far away. Wasn't super necessary, but he just wanted to confirm that point. Acer has taken down Blake Safai, but he's going to get taken down there, and Garfont's just looking for greedy kills.
Yeah, I don't hate the Death Blossom there, because that is just all about making sure Insight is gone. And Insight, as it turns out, died right as he was pressing Q, but at the very least, you're forcing the Genji to stop attacking and start deflecting. And given how closely they were grouped up there, it could have been very dangerous if he'd been allowed to get more through. That's a big bomb over the top.
Connects onto Blake Safai, and that means Acer can get into that backline and take down those remainders. Transcendence comes out by Garfonts to shut down the Blade. No hero blade for you today there, Scrim, and that's going to be first point captured with 20 seconds basically remaining there. They managed to hold that quite well.
Yeah, it's a pretty good first point defense. The trouble is that with this fast, high mobility dive composition, they can take all this real estate on the second point. Means the defense is not able to set up where they'd like to for it. I mean, look at the pressure Falter is putting onto this team.
He does have to jump back. He is falling low from the Genji behind him, but Genji gets slapped, and Acer gets a beautiful headshot. Zaki comes up to try respond to Acer, and Acer does fall back to the team. Falter now taking down Blake Safai. Angie is up in their front line, just taking them down now, and it's just Zaki and Kenzie left to run away and try survive. It's a lot of free progress going on.
Yeah, they're going to be struggling to even make it back. They should be able to force a fight onto this second point in the end. They've got the right composition to make it happen, but even then, this second point has practically been free real estate here for the members of Eight-Legged Geeks.
Now we see them up on the higher ground. Acer trying to come up behind. He gets sleep though. Blake Safai with a good sleep, meaning the team can get onto point. Inside though, a good blade. Taking down 2, and the Shatter just to try and shut them down. But Falter angry, pushing everyone off. They kept point.
Yeah, that's rough. Both Kenzie and JPEG dropping those big tank ultimates into that fight for very little effect. And Blacksify getting staggered out there as well means that, again, all of this free real estate. But we're on to the third point of the map now. There's now 3 minutes on the clock to get this one across the line. And once again, the defense is scattered, struggling to set up. The only silver lining is that the attack doesn't really have a lot in the way of ultimates. But, I mean, they still have a Death Blossom about to be online. It could easily be a Deadly Beyblade.
Absolutely. Now, early Fire Strike onto Insight is going to give the defense a little bit more capability to put on the pressure. They're starting to push up onto point. We do see Falter drop into the backline. Immortality has to come out. Here's the Death Blossom, but he dies by Acer. Transcendence does get forced out. Sound Barrier maybe a bit too far up. Can't get the value it wants. Nano Blade now in the backline. Scrim takes down 2. JPEG gets the kill, and Scrim even with another kill onto Garfonts. Falter now just staggering out any kills he can, trying to get as much more space. Angie on the Baby Diva, killing everyone. The tanks, they're still in this. They're going to keep pushing. They want to get to this point capture. They want to go to the final map right now.
Yeah, they want to get there, but I think it's going to have to wait at least a little longer. Hero Blade, once again from Scrim. That's an Acer over the top with the Death Blossom, picks up 3. And now they are in the driver's seat to get this one across the line. The defense is not in a great position to contest this, but they need to get on it.
Someone has to touch desperately, and you see Zaki there wraithing onto point. He's going to do anything he can desperately. It gives Kenzie the chance to get on. JPEG drops the shatter, connects onto most of the team there. Kenzie's popping herself distractor, and so is Angie. Shield is up, no connections either side for those self-destructs there. It's all about who's going to stay alive longer. JPEG gets the fire strike onto Acer, and Scrim's taking down Butcher. This is going to be huge right now for gaming on weekdays. If this defense can work out for them, they're going to be able to win this. They're stalling out Angie. That's exactly what you want right now. The sleep. Oh no.
So another fight where Scrim picks up 3, and that means another Scrim Blade ready for what is probably the final fight. It's going to be the battle of the Genjis. Both of these Genjis have the blades ready to go. Neither of the Annas are ready, and it's dubious if they'll have the time. Neither team's going to have the defensive ultimate online either, so it's really going to be on who gets the early blade or the bigger blade. They need to win these fights off the blades. It is Insight v Scrim here. Whoever hits the button first has an advantage, but you have to get the value. Scrim's been doing that, but it's always been late fight that the hero blades have been happening. There's so much pressure on the line. Here comes the first one.
Nano Blade does take... Oh, but there's a blade in the back line. There are kills both sides. Insight is getting a few extra kills there with the blade right now. Falter helping him out, but Swanky does take down Angie. This is going to be more valuable for the defense. The defense has a closer respawn, and Falter and Insight and Acer are all just trying their best to get any kills they can. You see Scrim trying to get any kills. He gets Acer. And Nano onto Kenzie means that Kenzie's going to do the damage. This could be it for the defense. These earlier respawns is going to be huge. Garfonts tries to touch, and now it's just Angie. He's going to get the touch, but there is a self-destruct.
Oh, no.
It is so mean. And the Death Blossom. That is GG right there.
And after a rough showing in the first map of Busan, Gamers on weekdays come back strong, picking up the 3-1 victory as they clean up the rest of the maps. And no small part thanks to Scrim here, who has just been an absolute monster on this Genji, pulling out these late fight blades that have just been winning the team fights as he repeatedly dives defenses, divides the supports rather, and tears apart these defenses.
Absolutely. We do have to give a lot of credit to Garfonts that game, though. Even though they may not have won that, Garfonts absolutely kept the team alive to be able to do so much. They got so much value out of their right clicks, out of their headshots. It was nasty to watch that Zenyatta play.
Oh, the support play from both teams has been phenomenal. Both Annas putting in a great performance. We've seen huge biotic grenades, huge sleeps all night. Unfortunately, it just ended up being a little too much. I mean, let's face it, just 1 or 2 big sleeps onto Scrim there, and we're going to map 5. But obviously a blading Genji, not the easiest target to hit, but definitely one of the most important targets to sleep if you are the Ana. In the end, proves a little too much. With that, gaming on the weekdays, they get the well-earned 3-1 victory. And, well, that brings us to the end of tonight's program. So before we close it out, I suppose any final thoughts from you?
Oh, it was just a lot of fun Overwatch, even though they were considered lower divisions. I think both teams actually gave us quite a good show. You know, there was some good ultimate usages, good communication, especially things like they were the Sombra and Death Blossom ults combined. You know, we saw some really good Overwatch today. So even though they may be low divisions, they still have some pretty good gameplay for us.
Yeah, I definitely really like that matchup. We were seeing some great strategies coming into it, and in the end, though, I mean, the hero plays at this point can really be make or break here, and that's what it comes down to. Just these players having huge ultimates, able to put the team on their back and close it out. So obviously some great performance there as well. I'd like to give a shout out to all of our players, event staff, organizers, admins, all of that good stuff, everyone in the AOE family, for all of the work that goes on behind the scenes for this. Thank you to our viewers for sticking with us. Until next week, look after yourselves. Take care. We'll be back next week at the same time. 2 more matches. I hear rumors, although we can't confirm anything yet, that we might be seeing some Div 1 matches next week. So if you want to see the best the AAOL has to offer, definitely tune in next week. We'll have some much higher Div matches then. And until then, stay safe. We'll see you all.